21. Okay, we're going to get to what's going on Saturday. I did a live, and thank you everyone that tuned in to Saturday. We had really decent numbers, and I appreciate everyone for also subscribing, for tuning in, and just all your support. You know, the kind in the comments, you guys do it really well. So we're going to get to a few different things because there is a lot that's going on. Allow me a few minutes to get myself set up over here, do my disclaimer, but it's going to give you guys time to come in and like the video. So thanks for being here. Thanks for supporting the show. So okay, so let's go ahead, get to the disclaimer, get me a setup over here. Okay. I hope everyone's having a great morning. Copyright disclaimer: under Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976, allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comments, news reporting, teaching, scholarships and research. Fair use is use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. All comments are alleged, in our opinion, and for entertainment purposes only. Okay, you guys, you know I gotta get that disclaimer going. All right. So I hope everyone had a great weekend. Always have time to set myself up, get myself going. We're going to talk about what's been going on. On Saturday, we did cover that allegedly juror number 6 has been released. Many people are stating there's several different reasons, several different comments that were made. Allegedly, juror number 6 had told another juror that he's traveling, and it's outside of New York. Allegedly, it's Jersey. So people were like, what do you mean he's traveling? So I guess there's whispers between the jurors in regards to his travel. Now, can't confirm or deny when he was a part of the jury, if he was originally from New York and then he moved. And I guess they're stating you have to stay within this jurisdiction to stay within the jury. So, can't confirm or deny if he had recently moved, and that's still an issue. You have to be within the New York jurisdiction. Okay. So then there was some concerns in regards to what juror number 6 was saying. Oh, I still stay in New York most of the time, but I just recently, I'm traveling back and forth. Whatever, however he said it, there was concerns. Now, mind you, juror number 6, I can say it now because they're saying he's dismissed and somebody's already in his place this morning. They're stating that juror number 6 made different comments about where he's staying, how he's staying, living or supporting the child's mother, oh, helping or assisting, da 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 da. A lot of stuff has been mentioned. So there was a lot of back and forth in regards to juror number 6 and his alleged comments. That's what's being alleged. I wasn't there, but his name has been being mentioned several times over several days. It just wasn't just Thursday, Friday. They have been mentioning his name for days, meaning it could have started Monday. But here nor there, this was the same person allegedly people were saying he was making great notes, very alert in what was going on, and then all of a sudden he stopped taking a lot of notes. Now, why would that be an issue? Well, he just don't want to take notes because some of the stuff is alleged repetitive. But I think that was the main concern, not just last week. The concern last week was that he relocated. The concern the week before is that he stopped taking notes. So he's been mentioned several times in the courtroom. Okay. So now I had told y'all Friday. I told y'all this Friday. Allegedly, Diddy's team is asking for a mistrial again. Third one. Yes, catch that T. Diddy's team on Saturday or Sunday is asking for a mistrial if juror number 6 is removed. Baby, Diddy's team is doing all that they can to seek a mistrial. Period. They're doing all that they can to seek a mistrial. We get it. He wants to get out of jail. We've seen that in regards to all his requests, in regards to him seeking bail, and the bail was denied several times. The mistrial request, the second time, has been denied. We don't know what's going to happen this morning because the judge is going to address that this morning in regards to them seeking a mistrial if juror number 6 is removed. It's up to the judge's discretion. Last week there was a lot, and what I mean in regards to a lot, there was a time frame that they went in late. The next day there was huge delays in regards to the attorneys going back and forth. Then there was a concern of Kanye, whether Kanye tried to attend that Thursday and they said today's not a good day because we're already, having sidebars off to the side, and we're already having many objections. There was a lot that was going on already Wednesday, and then we have the comments in regards to whether Kanye tried to be there on Thursday, but no one alleged saw him. Alleged, because just like he did Friday, he got out the car and he was, media attention, clicks, and views. So we Kanye can't confirm or deny. And I said that in my video that Thursday night. Can't confirm or deny if Kanye was there that Thursday, but he came that Friday. Now, it's being mentioned that Kanye was taken to an overflow room. Now, if other people were in there, can't confirm or deny that. One of the reporters over the weekend, I heard she stated she was in the room with Kanye in the overflow room. I heard another gentleman say someone had directed him to come with him so he could meet Kanye, but Kanye was already gone, baby. People were trying to get pictures of Kanye, make comments to Kanye. Kanye said, this ain't it. But Kanye, there was no way, allegedly, Kanye would have made it to the main overflow room if his name was not added. That's what we learned on Thursday or Friday. If his name was not added to the list to be in with the family. So we learned that. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get to video clips as well. So we're just doing a general update about juror number 6, about Kanye attending. Now, I'm not certain if Kanye is going to attend this morning, and if he showed up with the family, can't confirm or deny. But he may have became frustrated because he was in the overflow room and not the main courtroom. But they had said that they don't want Kanye to sway the jury of his presence and listening to the testimony. And allegedly, some of the people that are due to testify, so other celebrities that may be on the list, they can't show up to court. So I guess Kanye's name was not made on that list. So if your name is on that list, you can't be showing up to court to show support because you may be called to the stand. That's what I learned as well. Okay, so good morning, everyone. Good morning. I appreciate you all for being here. We're going to go ahead and get to this video clip in a minute, but I hope everyone's caught up in regards to the juror. Please subscribe to the page and turn on your notification. We talked about the juror. It's up to the judge's discretion. Kanye's team has asked for a mistrial. Again, this is the third one, and there's just a lot going on. I told y'all weeks ago that there's going to be a lot of distractions and there's going to be a lot of chaos. I told y'all that weeks ago, and this is what's happening. Diddy teams want to control a lot, and I'm sure it's because Diddy is not sitting back and he's speaking up for himself. So, like I said before, in regards to Diddy, he's innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. It is up to the judge and jury if there's any wrongdoing on his side. Okay, so I appreciate everyone for being here. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Press 3 if you knew where you're watching from. Press 3 if you know where you're watching from. Thank you for subscribing. Yes. Yeah, thank you for subscribing. Yeah, I had to update. Sometimes it's better to show clips after the 10-minute mark. So we have 1 more minute. But I kind of wanted to update you on what I'm hearing, what's going on. And I saw the post last night. Yeah, we got to wait till the 10-minute mark. We're almost at 10 minutes. I did see over the weekend from TMZ that Diddy is seeking a mistrial for the 3rd time. This won't be the only time, y'all. This will not be the only time. It's being alleged that there's more people to come this week to take the stand. Last night, I will state this, last night there was a gentleman that sat with Armand in regards to him meeting up with Diddy and Cassie. Well, I might do a short regarding that. Okay, it's 10-minute mark. Let's go ahead and play the video. Fair use reaction clip. Yeah, I listened to Armand last night. He had one of the guys that had met Cassie and Diddy. Hold on one second. Okay. It's Monday, and they're going to talk about the court case.
Combs' former girlfriend who uses...
Da 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 da.
And welcome back to... Monday marks the beginning of the 7th week in the sex trafficking racketeering trial of Sean Diddy Combs. Combs' former girlfriend, who used the pseudonym Jane to protect her identity, wrapped up her testimony after multiple days in which she testified about abuse allegations throughout her relationship with Combs. But most of the drama unfolded after the jury was sent home for the weekend, as the judge overseeing the case said he was prepared to go along with prosecutors' demand to remove one of the jurors for lack of candor during jury selection. Sean Diddy Combs has pleaded not guilty to all charges. If convicted, he faces the possibility of life in prison. Joining us now is our friend, criminal trial attorney Sarah Azari, who has been following this from the very beginning, and there is a lot to follow, Sarah. Yeah. So let's start with Jane Doe. What's this love contract all about?
Gee, the love contract was really important for the prosecution because they're establishing coercion that goes to the sex trafficking charge. The idea that Diddy was using his power, influence, and threats to get Jane to engage.
And did y'all hear that voicemail message? Hey, baby, rest up. I'm glad you signed that love contract. There's video clips. I may try and play some of the video clips because people might not have heard some of the video clips. I did hear more video clips this weekend than I ever heard. So I might go back to try and retrieve those to play those for y'all. Fair use reaction clip. Please subscribe to the page and turn on your notification. Let's continue. Fair use reaction clip.
In these hotel nights, these freak offs essentially. But then it unraveled on cross-examination because what we found out was that her text messages told a different story. She was around hotel nights and freak offs even when Diddy was not around. She got to choose the male entertainer that she wanted to be with. She had her favorites. She also, when she didn't feel like having a hotel night, Diddy would comply and say, all right, we'll have a one-on-one date and we'll have a movie night. So this started to look more like a relationship. And remember, Gio, he is still paying her rent. As far as I know, there's no freak offs in lockup, right? So where is what he's getting under this contract? So that whole thing fell apart. I think she was a very bad witness, actually, for the prosecution.
We were just talking as well about that juror who apparently had some inconsistencies in his statement during jury selection, and now we've learned that he's been dismissed.
Yeah, and that was about his residence, which to me is not that material. And I think the judge side of the prosecution saying, well, if he's been dishonest about where he lives, and maybe he's been dishonest about other things, which to me is speculative. And by the way, so many people wanted to make the cut on this jury, unlike usual jury selection, that I feel like, okay, well, there might be other jurors with inconsistencies, and if this keeps happening, we could have a mistrial. But, you know, they're going to seat an alternate in his place now.
Okay, what do you expect for next week?
Where's the prosecution's almost done? They're almost wrapping their case. We don't have a criminal enterprise. We really don't have a conspiracy because think about it, Joe. Proof beyond a reasonable doubt. They are not there yet. What they have him on is prostitution. Sex trafficking and racketeering, no, sir, not yet.
And that's what's so interesting about this case is that you say that when you've looked at what they've presented, they haven't presented something for the racketeering and sex trafficking specifically.
It's the most disjointed prosecution that I can remember seeing in recent times.
Wow. All right. That says something, Sarah.
That's what some say, but over the weekend, I keep hearing different. They do have everything set up, and everyone's saying that is reading the definition or the terminology of what racketeering is. So some say they've met a lot of those points. Fair use reaction clip. Like the video as you guys come in. Like the video as you guys come in. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Please don't forget to subscribe and turn on your notification. If you're watching from a phone, press 1. Let's please get the likes to 100. Please double tap the screen to hit the like. Please double tap the screen to hit the like. It is free to hit the like, but we do have memberships over there. So let's get to this clip. Thank you. Please hit the like button.
Chief Investigative Correspondent Aaron Katursky's outside the courthouse in Lower Manhattan. So, Aaron, what was the issue with this juror?
His candor, according to the judge, Diane. The judge said he gave conflicting answers when asked a pretty basic question. Where do you live? And during jury selection, he said he lived in the Bronx. He then mentioned somewhat casually to a court staff member that he had moved to New Jersey. And then when questioned about it, he gave conflicting answers about whether he was actually living in the Bronx or whether he was living in New Jersey. And the judge said that raised broader questions about his candor and whether he made a deliberate attempt to try and get himself seated onto the jury for this particular trial. And he said that could not stand.
Aaron, the defense has made arguments that this is racially motivated. How does this affect the makeup of the jury now?
It does make it, I guess, a bit whiter. The replacement alternate is a 57-year-old architect from Westchester County. But the judge noted that race isn't a concern because it is a diverse jury, even with the dismissal of this 41-year-old black man from...
Sorry, that's them honking the horns because, of course, they're outside. This is the media. Let's continue. Fair use reaction clip.
Either the Bronx or New Jersey. And the judge also said it would be inappropriate for him to consider race when making the decision as to whether this juror's candor made it appropriate for him to stick around.
The prosecutors are expected to wrap this weekend, this week, I should say. So what are you watching for as they call their final witnesses?
Well, the one on the stand right now is just a summary witness. It's a paralegal from the U.S. Attorney's Office trying to help the jury organize some of the 500-plus exhibits they've seen over the last several weeks. We expect a couple of those. There's one additional substantive witness, though, and that's a former assistant to Sean Combs, someone else who might be able to tell the jury about drugs, about setting up hotels, about how he treated people in his orbit as prosecutors seek to prove that he was running a criminal enterprise.
Then, of course, the defense will start calling their own witnesses. Any indication whether Diddy will testify in his own defense?
Not yet. The defense had told the judge last week that...
Do y'all think Diddy will take the stand? Yes or no? Let me know in the comments. And please subscribe to the page as well. We're almost at 38K. Thanks for tuning in. Let's continue. Do you think Diddy will take the stand? Yes or no? And if you think he will take the stand, why?
It would make representations about the contours of its case this week. Now, we haven't heard anything from the defense yet. We do know we expect the defense to call at least one witness, a psychological expert, to counteract the psychological testimony of a prosecution expert about how alleged victims of sex trauma process what's happened to them. But we don't know what else the defense may have in store, including whether Sean Combs himself will testify in his own defense.
All right, Aaron Katursky outside the courthouse for us. Thanks, Aaron. And
that's coming from ABC News. It's coming from ABC News. The other one was from ABC News as well. Okay, so let's get to this one. Fair use reaction clip. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. Thanks for being here. Press 3 if you knew where you're watching from. Press 3 if you knew where you're watching from. Press 5 if you've been here before, where you're watching from. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button and turn on your notification. Fair use reaction clip.
Is that right? Yes. Did you ever want to engage in any sexual activity with Mr. Combs? No. Over what period of time did the sexual assaults occur? I'm not sure the years, but they were sporadic. Were they sporadic during your employment with Mr. Combs? Yes. Where was Cassie when these sexual assaults occurred?
I like when the AI is kind of giving like, it's almost like somebody's reading the transcripts and it's an AI voice. So let's continue. Fair use reaction clip.
Not there. Did you tell her about them? No. Where were you the first time you remember Mr. Combs sexually assaulting you? At the Plaza Hotel in New York for his 40th birthday. For whose 40th birthday? For Puff's 40th birthday. Why were you at the Plaza Hotel? Because I was working. Were you Mr. Combs' personal assistant at the time? Yes, I was very new. Approximately how long had you been working for Mr. Combs at this point in time? Just a few months. How much of the hotel had Mr. Combs rented for his birthday party? I believe it was the whole thing. Where was Mr. Combs physically located at the party? He had like a penthouse suite, and then the downstairs of the hotel was where the main party was, so he was going back and forth between. Was there a time when Mr. Combs was in the penthouse? Yes. Did there come a time when you went to the penthouse? Yes. Why? Because we had to stay within his eyesight and earshot. When both you and Mr. Combs were in the penthouse, who else was there? A lot of people. Malcolm, whoever was working at the time, and then other party guests, celebrities. Was Cassie there? No. What did Mr. Combs do when you were in the penthouse? At some point, he asked to speak to me in the kitchen. After he asked you to speak to you in the kitchen, what did he do? I guess he had everybody else clear the room, leave. Did you end up going into the kitchen? Yes. Who was in the kitchen with you and Mr. Combs? Just us. What did Mr. Combs tell you in the kitchen? He was saying that he noticed what a good job I was doing and that I didn't have to be nervous or scared to come to him because at the time I was just going through Malcolm, the other assistant, to ask questions, or I wasn't really like going direct to Puff. And he was saying that he had noticed I was doing a great job and that like sort of like we were going to be working.
This is from Law Crimes. This state that this is AI Mia details. Let's continue. Fair use reaction clip.
Working closer together, so we should, things like that. What, if anything, did Mr. Combs offer you when you were in the kitchen with him? Then he poured us shots of vodka to cheers for his birthday. How many shots did he give you? I think 2. What did you do with the shots? I took them. Had you been drinking earlier that night? Not that I recall, but if so, like it wasn't affecting me. How did these shots that you took with Mr. Combs make you feel? I remember thinking like that, whoa, I did not eat or something because they affected me. Like I felt like they hit me kind of hard. How did shots normally make you feel at this point in your life? I was in my 20s in New York. 2 shots would not have made me feel that way. What did Mr. Combs do after you took the shots? He was still talking, and I just remember my back. I was standing against the wall, and I just remember he was talking, and all of a sudden his face got closer. I remember my eyes couldn't focus on his face because it was so close, and I didn't really know what was happening. And he put his arm next to my head up against the wall and leaned in to kiss me and put his other hand up the side of my dress. I just want to make sure I have this straight. Did Mr. Combs kiss you at that point? Yeah. Did you want Mr. Combs to kiss you? No. Did Mr. Combs put his hand up your dress? Yes. Did you want him to do that? No. Were you able to tell Mr. Combs no in that moment? No. Why not? I was shocked and I froze. I didn't even process what was happening. What is the next thing that you remember happening after Mr. Combs kissed you? My next memory is I just remember being on a chair in the main room in a penthouse and coming to the chair and the sun was coming up. When you came to, were you clothed? Yes. Was anyone else around? I don't really remember. In my memory, I don't see anyone. At this point in time, when Mr. Combs kissed you, what did you think about Mr. Combs' role? He was my boss. He was a very powerful person. He was to me he's younger than my dad, but I looked up at him like an older adult. He was my boss, or the king. Very powerful person. Mia, earlier you said the next thing you remember is coming to on a chair in the penthouse. Do you remember how you got from the kitchen to the main penthouse? No. What do you mean when you say, you came to? That's just my next memory. What were your expectations about whether something like this would happen again? I thought it would never happen again. I thought...
Please subscribe to the page. Please subscribe to the page and turn on your notification. Let's continue. Fair use reaction clip.
Oh my gosh, he was so drunk, and I will never tell anybody. It was probably a huge accident, and I was sort of I knew the confidentiality, and I was just kind of I didn't want that to... I thought that he would have never remembered that, and that it was a huge accident, and I was going to act like nothing happened. Were there other times after this incident at the Plaza Hotel in which Mr. Combs made you feel uncomfortable sexually?
Survivors of LDS church sex abuse.
Fair use reaction clip. Like the videos you guys come in. Let's continue.
After his 40th birthday party was the next time you remember? I don't know how long it was, but I remember how I felt as far as I was still relatively new. Yeah, so I was still relatively new, but it wasn't right after. I don't know, it could have been months. Where were you the next time you remember this happening? I was in New York at his apartment. At whose apartment? At Puff's apartment. Why were you at Mr. Combs' apartment? Because at the end of whenever Puff was done for the day or the night, or whenever everybody went upstairs to drop off his bags and set him up, and I was the one with his bags. When you got to the apartment to do that, did you see any other employees? Downstairs outside was his driver and security. Who from security was there? Uncle Paulie. What, if anything, did Uncle Paulie say to you at this time?
Objection. Can you rephrase? Hearsay.
Who from... It's for the effect on the listener, Your Honor.
Overruled.
What, if anything, do you remember Uncle Paulie saying to you? He said something that made, me feel super uncomfortable. At first, I was going up to the apartment. I didn't think anything. And he said something not a warning or be careful, but something aha, I've seen this before. It was something that made my inner alarms go off. Where did you go after speaking with Uncle Paulie? I had to go upstairs with the bags. With whose bags? With Puff's bags. When you went upstairs, where was Mr. Combs? He was in the apartment. Where in the apartment? In the foyer. What did Mr. Combs tell you to do? I was just dropping off the bags, and he asked me to pull something up on the computer for him real quick. What did you do after he asked you that? I went into his living room, had this U-shaped couch where that's where you would... There wasn't much space in the apartment. That's where you would basically be in. I went to the far end and pulled up whatever he asked for. What did Mr. Combs do when you were pulling this up on your computer? He came and sat next to me and then leaned over me almost to put his face in the computer, but this was in an uncomfortable way. Aside from when Mr. Combs had kissed you and put his hands up your dress, had he ever been that close to you? No. How did you feel when he was leaning over you? There was something inside of me that was sounded the alarm bells. I felt really uncomfortable, but I didn't know how to behave because I didn't want to make a big deal if it was nothing. What did you do next? I faked I said, oh, I have to go to the bathroom so bad. I had to pee, and I got up and ran to the bathroom. What happened after you went to the bathroom? He was okay, well, I'll see you tomorrow, and he let me go for the night. So I thought, see, he wasn't trying to do anything. I just convinced myself that I was...
Objection. That's overruled. Let's get a new question.
How did this incident make you feel, Mia? When he let me go, I felt okay, see, he wasn't trying to do anything. That is all my...
See, that's what some of these people are unfortunately doing. They're telling themselves, now, if y'all just heard, he pressed up against her, and then he got really close to her as she's on the computer. And she's telling herself, okay, let me get up and remove myself. But then she's saying that this is Mia. She's telling herself, oh, he wasn't trying anything. He just tried something prior to in regards to touching your body. Let's continue. Fair use reaction clip. And this is why people were having concerns with people that took the stand, because some of their comments was so inconsistent. Did he make you uncomfortable? Yes, that made me uncomfortable. I'm glad I was able to remove myself from him being that close to me. I'm glad I thought about, okay, let me go to the bathroom. I don't know what would have transpired if I wouldn't have went to the bathroom. Let's continue. Fair use. It's almost like this is like talking yourself out of feeling uncomfortable, and you should never have to talk yourself out of feeling uncomfortable. Fair use reaction clip.
Head. That was just some silly joke that Uncle Polly was saying. I felt crazy and felt safe again.
Mia, you mentioned earlier that Mr. Combs sexually assaulted you on multiple occasions. Where were you the next time you remember Mr. Combs sexually assaulting you?
At his 9933 Beverly Grove Drive?
That's a house in Los Angeles?
Yes.
And he was in that house approximately 2009 to 2010 from what you remember?
Yes.
Where were you in the Beverly Grove house?
The room I stayed in was upstairs in a room with bunk beds, so I slept on the bottom bunk bed.
Did you lock the door to your room?
No.
Remind the jury why not.
Objection. It's overruled.
Why didn't you lock the door to your room, Mia?
Because I wasn't allowed to. That was his house, and you can't lock his doors.
And who did not allow you to lock your doors?
Puff.
Did there come a point in time when you woke up?
Yes.
What caused you to wake up?
The weight of a person on top of me.
Who was on top of you?
Puff.
What do you remember happening when Mr. Combs was on top of you?
I remember it was sort of like him telling you that somehow be quiet. And using, this just happened so fast, using like one hand to get, I guess, his hands or whatever off.
What did he do when he used that hand to get his hands undone?
He put himself inside of me.
So you said he put himself inside of you, is that right?
So uncomfortable. Please subscribe to the page. Please subscribe to the page. We're almost at 38K. Please subscribe to the page. Continue to hit the like button, you guys, by double tapping the screen. If you're watching from a phone, please double tap the screen. Let's get the likes to 100. Let's continue. Fair use reaction clip.
Yes.
At Coleman and Cross, we will
Fair use reaction clip. There's about 441 in the building. If I can please get 400 people to please subscribe and thank you. Let's continue. Fair use reaction clip.
Inside of you, is that right?
Yes.
Do you mean that he put his penis inside of you?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
How did you react when that happened?
I just froze. I didn't react.
How did you?
Now, this is all alleged. That's why the allege is there. I can't confirm or deny if Diddy was on top of or inserted himself. This is the alleged transcript AI reading what happened in regards to Mia. Let's continue. Fair use reaction clip. And there will be a bunch of people that's going to take the stand this week. We will definitely cover that. But we're going over what Mia has stated alleged with AI on her testimony. Fair use reaction clip.
Feel
terrified and confused and ashamed and scared.
Did you want to have sex with Mr. Combs?
No.
How long was this assault?
It was very quick, but it felt like forever.
How did it end?
I don't remember, but I know that he didn't like leave the job unfinished. So
he wouldn't leave a job unfinished?
Yeah, whenever he was done or satisfied or got what he wanted.
Is that when it would end?
Yes.
Mia, where were you the next time you remember Mr. Combs sexually assaulting you?
I was at the 9374 Beverly Crest home.
What were you doing at the Beverly Crest house?
We were like getting him ready to go to like a meeting or run out of the house, so I was on his bedroom closet floor, like putting stuff in the back.
Who was in the bedroom closet with you?
I thought nobody, or people were always in and out, like running around, but then Puff.
Did there come a point in time when Mr. Combs came into the closet?
Yes.
What did Mr. Combs do when he got into the closet?
I wasn't paying attention, it was going so fast. But the next thing I looked up, and he was like standing right in front of me, in front of my face.
And what happened when Mr. Combs was standing right in front of your face?
He had his penis out, and he like grabbed my head and put it.
That's so concerning. Fair use reaction clip. In regards to the courtroom right now, they're talking about Juror 6 right now. So we've already talked about Juror 6. I told you my page is a little different. We go by fast. We go extremely fast. I am keeping up what's happening in the courtroom right now. They'll talk about Juror 6. He's been removed, and they're talking about Diddy's team filing a mistrial. So I will keep updating on what's happening in the courtroom. Let's continue. Fair use reaction clip.
In and put it in there.
So Mr. Combs took his penis out, is that right?
Yes.
And did he grab your head and pull it toward him?
Yes.
Did he put his penis in your mouth?
Yes.
How did you react when that happened?
I was just froze, and I didn't do anything. I just let it happen.
How did you feel when Mr. Combs put his penis in your mouth?
Like trash, and scared, and ashamed and defeated, and like an idiot.
Did you want to give Mr. Combs oral sex?
No.
How long did it last?
It was very fast, really fast.
Mia, other than what we have described so far, were there other times in which Mr. Combs sexually assaulted you?
Yes.
Sitting here today, do you remember the details of those assaults?
No. What generally do you remember? I just remember a feeling. Like a specific, horrible, dark, like feeling in my stomach that I would get surrounding like certain like places, but I don't remember. Can you describe an example of a memory you have with that kind of dark feeling? I remember one time we were flying in a private jet and everyone was asleep, our team was asleep, and in the back between the main like area and the bathroom, there was a separate place where there was a bed that he would go to get sleep. And it was normal. If you had to go to the bathroom, you just walked through there and it was, yeah, everyone was asleep. I went to the bathroom and I remember when I opened the door that he was standing right there and like basically was trying to push me back inside, which I don't remember what happened. Do you remember getting pushed back into the bathroom? Yeah, I remember trying to squiggle out of it. Like, no. I would always, in order to get out of things, if I ever could, I would make it about other people that could potentially hear or see or whatever. I remember being like, no, it didn't work. So you sometimes use other people as a distraction to get out of sexual encounters? Yes. How did you feel in this instance when you realized you couldn't distract Mr. Combs or squiggle out of it even when other people were around? Like helpless. And like...
Good morning, everyone. Thanks for tuning into Let's Talk About It Media 21. Please subscribe to the page. Please subscribe to the page. Please hit the subscribe and turn on your notifications. Let's continue. Fair use reaction clip.
I've lost some layer of protection and so unsafe and just terrified.
Sitting here today, do you remember exactly what happened in the bathroom?
No.
Mia, was there ever a time in which you initiated sexual contact with Mr. Combs?
No.
Was there ever a time you told Mr. Combs you wanted to have sex with him?
No.
I think earlier you mentioned that these assaults would happen sporadically, is that right?
Yes, there was no powder.
When they would happen, where was Cassie?
She was not there.
Did Mr. Combs have any other girlfriends?
Yes.
Where were they in these instances?
Not there.
Were you able to predict when the sexual assaults would happen?
Never. They were always random, sporadic. It would go so oddly spaced out where I would never think that it would happen again. And the way that our dynamic was, there were no boundaries.
And if they're traveling and he's keeping this is alleged, if they're traveling and he's keeping them busy, there is no time to exit and go to a hospital for a kid. Unless you just go at the night and not get any rest. But the biggest thing is, over here, we tell people how to try and exit or try and get assistance or make notes, and definitely try and go to police or get proof from the hospital. Let's continue. Fair use reaction clip. Fair use reaction clip. This may be a trigger warning for some, so be aware. Please subscribe to the page. Let's continue. Fair use.
It wasn't weird for me to be in his room at all hours of the night or waking him up or talking to him.
Yes, justice for all victims. Let's continue. Fair use.
Well, he's on the toilet. And it never happened in situations that would be like that or when, like during a party. It never, no.
Fair use reaction clip. So sad of what's being alleged. And like I said, if you're just now coming in, right now the courts is just basically talking about juror number 6. Right now, Diddy's team is requesting a mistrial because juror number 6 have been removed. Let's continue. Fair use reaction clip.
If there ever a next time, I would somehow be more prepared. We would have to go right back into work, and there was so much going on. I never processed it. I never thought it would happen again.
What would you do after the sexual assaults occurred?
Just keep it moving. Like, keep right back to whatever I was doing right before, which was always an insane amount of work or running around.
And you mentioned that you would keep it moving. What did you mean by that?
That means just, like, that could never happen. And keep on your, just stay focused on whatever you were doing before. Keep working. There was no time to stop and think and reflect or anything. Just keep it moving like it never happened.
Is keep it moving a phrase that Mr. Combs would use?
Yes.
Mia, during any of these sexual assaults, was there any indication to you that was...
Like I said, as she took the stand, this is Mia's testimony. This is her testimony to the courts. He's innocent till proven guilty. A jury's going to have to decide if there's any wrongdoing on Diddy's side. It's not my decision. We're just bringing you guys the information. Let's continue. Fair use reaction clip.
Mr. Combs was on drugs?
No.
You've now described several times in which he has sexually assaulted you. Just to be very clear, during any of these incidents, did you want to engage in sexual acts with Mr. Combs?
No.
Did you actually tell him no?
No. I only tried to squiggle out of them if I could, but otherwise no.
Why didn't you tell him no?
Because I couldn't tell him no. I couldn't tell him no about a sandwich. I couldn't tell him no about anything. There was no way I could tell him no because then he would know that I thought he was doing was wrong, and then I would be a target.
What were you afraid would happen if you told Mr. Combs no with regard to sex?
That he would fire me and ruin my future and somehow twist the story into making me look like a threat?
Why were you afraid of those things?
Because I knew his power, and I knew his control over me, and I didn't want to lose everything that I worked so hard for. Or this world that was the only thing that I had anymore.
What, if anything, were you worried would happen to your job?
It would be over, and I would never work in that industry again.
What, if anything, were you worried would happen to you physically?
Somehow attacked. I didn't to die or get hurt.
You were worried about Mr. Combs physically hurting you if you told him no?
Yeah, always.
When you told him no, not just about sex?
Yes. What, if anything, did Mr. Combs say to you about these sexual assaults? He didn't, but he did threaten me sometimes with them. And how would he threaten you with them? He threatened that he was going to tell everybody, and he was going to telecast as though I had something to do with it. As if you had something to do with it? Yes. How did that make you feel when he threatened to tell everyone? Like desperate and terrified and happened and the worst, scariest situation. I would have done like anything to not have it happen, like it was my fault. Mia, when Mr. Combs was sexually assaulting you, did you tell anyone about it? No. Why not? I was going to die with this. I didn't want anyone to know ever. What, if anything, were you worried would happen if you spoke up? I would have been silenced. I would have been punished. I would have been exiled from my, second family. I would have had a horrible reputation. I would have lost everything. Who did you think would do those things to you? Puff and anybody he involved. Why did you not tell HR or chiefs of staff about the sexual assaults? HR was only around when Puff wanted.
See, facts. Why didn't she tell HR? Why didn't she go to the hospital? Why didn't she go to the police? Let's listen to her answer. Fair use reaction clip.
To call HR to punish you. HR was not there to protect you. But also, who's going to believe me? And this was way before Me Too. This was way before social media or mental health awareness or sexual assaults. Way before any of this. I just thought I would be punished. There's no way I ever told them. Plus, this is confidentiality. Who instilled confidentiality in you? Puff in the office. When you were working for Mr. Combs, Mia, were there ever time that you saw other employees speak up about Mr. Combs' abuse? Yes. Who spoke up? Kala Faulkner. Remind us who Kala is? Kala was an assistant. Is this the same Kala Mr. Combs directed you to reach out to after he slammed Cassie's head into the bed frame? Yes. Did Kala speak up before or after that incident? After. How did you learn that Kala had spoken up about Mr. Combs? I was told. There was an urgent phone call among people, executives. Yeah, in the office.
Objection. It's overruled.
Were you on that call? Yes. What did you understand that Kala had said when she spoke up?
Hold on, Miss Miser. Can you lay a little bit more context for this call?
Mia, who generally was on this call? I don't remember everyone, but I know it was HR at the time. I believe the chief of staff. I believe there were C-suite executives. What is your understanding of the purpose of this call? Was to discuss how to handle Kala.
You may proceed.
What did you understand that Kala had said when she spoke up? She had told the new chief of staff casually that she thought that Puff had hit Cass, and then the chief of staff told, I believe, HR.
Objection. Overruled.
Who was the chief of staff at the time? Her name was Eureka Gillicky. She was new. I'm probably pronouncing her last name wrong. What happened to Kala after the phone call?
Hey, Chef, are you over 40 and still sweating in the house?
In regards to the court case, too, I will update you guys what's happening on this end. It is being reported that KK's name is being mentioned a lot. And what I mean in regards to that, there's different interaction in regards to KK and Diddy. There's an alleged, when Diddy was traveling with his daughters, there was a phone that they retrieved, and there was a message between KK and Diddy. So that's been talked about by quite a few people over the last few days, that Diddy and KK's interaction messages, and a lot of that is coming up in court right now. So let's continue. Fair use reaction clip. And many people are not certain if KK is going to take the stand, because allegedly, I'll kind of watch what I say regarding that. But KK's name is being brought up a lot. So are they trying to frame Diddy and KK in regards to what's going on? Fair use reaction clip. Hold on.
Fired? Yes. What did he tell you? That if she filed a lawsuit, that I would have to get up on the stand. And do what? And testify everything that he told me to say, and also about an incident that had happened a month or a few months before that. At a really high level, what had happened a few months before? A few months before, Kala had been drinking in the office in the day and had forgotten to pay a bill of Puffs. And I was in the office getting that call, and I let her know. And she threw the wallet at me. And I was shocked. And she ended up getting aggressive and got in my face and ended up punching me in the face, and I just left. And then later, Puff punished both of us and instead of punishing her, suspended me as well and made me stay with her and help her get back on track. Was Kala fired after this incident when she punched you? No. When was she fired? After she told the chief of staff that she thought Cass was abused by Puff. You were just talking about Mr. Combs telling you that you may have to testify against Kala. Was that the only time Mr. Combs told you you would have to testify against someone? No. When was the other time? After Capricorn Clark left or was fired. Do you remember approximately when this was? I don't.
Now, they feel that Capricorn Clark did really well on the stand. Do you guys feel that Capricorn Clark did really well on the stand? Continue to hit the subscribe button. Continue to hit the subscribe button. Thanks for tuning in to Let's Talk About It Media 21. Let's continue. Fair use reaction clip.
I don't remember, but it was a few years. Sorry, I feel like it was a few years before Kala. What did Mr. Combs tell you about testifying against Capricorn? That if there was any sort of lawsuit, I would have to get up on the stand and defend him and say what he wanted me to say. You would have to say what he wanted you to say? Mm-hmm. Did you actually have to testify? No. Mia, why did you go to the police about Mr. Combs sexually assaulting you? I didn't even think there wasn't even an option. I didn't even think that was an option. Had you had any interactions with the police related to Mr. Combs that gave you that belief? Yeah. Yes. One or more than one? More than one. Did one of these interactions involve you specifically? Yes. Why don't you tell us about that? I was driving in LA. I was speeding as fast as possible because I had to get to Puff because he was upset that it was taking me so long to get where he was, and I hadn't had time to get my license renewed, so I didn't even have a license. And I was pulled over, and I was panicking because I didn't want to get in trouble with Puff. So it was like the only time I ever name dropped, and I just said, I'm so sorry, but please, I don't want to upset my boss. And when I told her who it was, she said the only way she didn't believe me, and she needed proof, and in a very official way, to get him on the phone, so I did. And then the second I handed the phone, she started laughing and saying like, oh my God, Puff Daddy, I love you. Like, just went into this whole very excited conversation, and then she let me go. Did you get a ticket? Oh no. And you mentioned that there were multiple interactions with the police. Was Mr. Combs present for one of the other interactions? Yeah. Who else was there? I don't remember. It was security and a driver. I don't remember which security it was. And what happened on that occasion? We were pulled over for like doing something, like speeding ridiculously or driving in the shoulder or something. And the cops approached pretty aggressively. Then once they saw Puff, they were like, oh, my bad, yeah, and left us alone. What city did these interactions with police occur in? LA. When was the first time you told someone else that Mr. Combs sexually assaulted you? Within the past, like, year and a half, I think. Was this before or after your first meeting with the government? After. Why did you not tell the government initially about the sexual assaults? Because I didn't know that you had to tell the bad things that happened to you if nobody else saw. And I thought I could just die with it and never tell anyone because it's shameful thing of my life. Did you hire a lawyer when you first met with the government? No. At some point, did you get a lawyer to help you prepare for your testimony today? Yes. Did you disclose these sexual assaults to the government before or after you got a lawyer? After. Without getting into any discussions that you had with your lawyer, why are you talking about the sexual assaults today? Because I have to tell the truth, the whole truth.
Objection. Overruled.
You can answer, Mia.
So she felt she couldn't go to the hospital. She felt she couldn't tell the police. She felt she couldn't go to HR because HR was not always traveling with them. Women, pay attention and get help, get assistance. Go to the police, go to the hospital, get a kit done. Some of these people felt that they couldn't because they felt fear of them signing an NDA. Fair use reaction clip, and just fear of them losing their job and fear of them being alleged, their career allegedly being ruined. Let's continue. Fair use reaction clip.
Because I have to tell the truth, the whole truth and nothing but the truth. And also, I now have a moral obligation because when you're scared into silence, these things continue to happen to others, and I can't.
Objection. Ms. Miser, again, another question.
Do you want to be talking about the sexual assaults today, Mia? Absolutely not. Why not? Because...
Objection. Overruled.
Why not, Mia? Because it is the most traumatizing, it's the worst thing and most shameful thing that ever happened to me. Why are you testifying here today?
Objection. Ms. Miser, I think that has been asked.
I think we can break here, Your Honor, before I move on to a new topic.
Yeah, that's AI generated. We kind of wanted to hear what KK had to say. Because like I mentioned, in regards to them being in the courtroom, they were talking about the juror being dismissed and them wanting the juror to be dismissed. Hold on one second. Fair use reaction clip. Like the video, like the video, like the video. Please subscribe to the page. Thanks for tuning in to Let's Talk About It Media 21. Let's get the likes up. Please double tap the screen to get the likes up. Let's continue. This is Law Crimes again.
Hey everybody, this is welcome to Combs criminal trial. We're going to a juror about. Yeah, like I said, a lot happened today in Sean Combs' racketeering, sex trafficking, prostitution trial. So much so.
Good morning, Paris. I hope you had a great weekend. Good morning, good morning, good morning, everyone. Good morning, Paris. Thanks for being here. Paris, just to update you, we talked about juror number 6 being removed. They have put somebody else in his place. Diddy's team, like I said Friday, they're going to ask for a mistrial, and they did again. They asked for a mistrial in regards to if juror number 6 was to be removed, and he has been removed, and he's been replaced, and they're moving forward. So I just wanted to update you. Yes, a lot of craziness. I told y'all, whether it was the people that were testifying, the chaos, I'm not surprised that Diddy's trying to control this whole trial. I'm not surprised. I can't imagine. Diddy's lawyers probably are not getting a lot of sleep. They probably can't wait till July. Fair use reaction clip. Heard a lot of great stuff over the weekend. Listening to a lot of smart people over the weekend. Yeah, a lot was going on in regards to a phone, the messages he was leaving these women. Yeah, there's a lot going on. if I can find the clip, I will play, because there were some clips I didn't even hear. So if I can find those clips, I'll play some of those clips in regards to the messages Diddy was leaving some of these women. So let's get to law crimes. Yeah, you know I got to update you, girl. You know you're one of my favorites. Okay, so let's continue. Fair use reaction clip.
We don't even need an introduction. Let me just bring on right now Elizabeth Milner, long crimes in court reporter, who was there for every minute of the action, including what happened when the jury wasn't present, because there was a lot there too. So first of all, Elizabeth, good to see you. Big development today. This juror. We knew there was an issue with a juror, and the judge, if I'm understanding what happened today, the judge basically accused the juror of making misrepresentations to the court to what? Stay on the jury? And the judge had wanted to dismiss this juror, but then there was some pushback from the defense, and now my understanding is there's not a resolution. He might wait till after the weekend to make a decision on this juror. What is going on here?
Yeah, it seemed like this was kind of a big focus of today outside of Kanye West trying to attend court today. But as far as today goes, a lot of people wanted to know what was going to happen to juror number 6. Now, a lot of the time, especially earlier this week, they were very tight-lipped as far as just what the details were surrounding what the issue was. But what we've learned from the judge later this afternoon is it was a lot of kind of inconsistent statements that this juror was making all the way going back to voir dire. And so what the judge said, that he looked back at the transcript, because there were conversations with this particular juror that happened twice already at this point at the roping room. So unfortunately, it was something that we don't see in the transcripts, nor are we listening to it happen when it's happening inside the court, because it's happening behind closed doors pretty much. But as far as the judge is concerned, the issue came up after that offhand conversation that this juror had with jury staff, just talking about kind of making that travel from New Jersey to New York. And that's a big problem, right? Because in New Jersey, that's not where the jury pool was taken from. They were taken from counties here in New York City, Westchester County, Bronx County, and even here in Manhattan too. And so this juror told the staffer that he recently moved to New Jersey with his girlfriend and said something along the lines of, it may not be permanent. I've been staying there the last couple of weeks. And so the juror was asked if he stayed at his home. Was it either in New Jersey or was it in the Bronx? So at one point he's saying he's spending 4 or 5 nights here in New York City at his apartment here. But on the other hand, he's saying he's in New Jersey where his girlfriend or fiance is there, but also with their baby daughter. And so in voir dire, this particular juror said that he lives in the Bronx with his fiance and daughter, but in the roping room, he said that he lives in New Jersey. And so the judge was like, there are several inconsistencies. The issue here is the juror was unable to follow instructions, and those were the simple instructions that were given to these juries during their questionnaire portion as far as where do they live and who do they live with. And so the judge was saying there were serious issues with this juror's candor, and that he didn't believe that they needed to do any further inquiry as far as questioning this juror once again. So that would make it, I think, questioning him, 3 or 4 times probably at this point, and that the court is concerned about the changing of the answers, the inconsistencies, and that the omissions and inconsistencies kind of played a role into the judge's decision, which initially he was going to dismiss this juror. I think he was pretty concerned that if this juror were to go and deliberate, that this could cause more issues later on in the process.
So right now in the courtroom, they're talking about messages between Jane Doe and KK, and they're talking about messages between Cassie and Christine Coram. So KK's been mentioned a lot. KK has been mentioned a lot. So I'm going to make sure I try and update you guys also what's happening into the courtroom. So fair use reaction clip.
But then the defense stands up and they're like, you know what, Judge, these answers don't really affect this particular juror's ability to serve on this particular jury. He says this is kind of a thing for a lot of people who live in this area, that they have significant others who live in New Jersey, or it's vice versa, where people who live in New Jersey have significant others in New York, and that this particular juror should be given the opportunity to explain himself again. And so the defense was really kind of honing in on the idea that these jurors have been very attentive throughout this entire process of the trial so far. Like I always mentioned, during our pitch, Jesse, that a lot of these jurors are paying attention, they're taking notes, like in both parties, as well as the judge kind of commends the jurors for being so attentive while inside the court. And so the defense was really kind of adding to that and said, I'm worried that the court equals or equates inconsistencies with lies. And so the defense said, we've taken strides to get this diverse jury, and we will go backwards kind of as far as just, less diversity if this particular juror was dismissed, because one of their arguments previously is that the government just wanted to dismiss this juror because this particular juror is black. However, the government took offense to that, and they said that no additional inquiry is necessary. Mr. Donaldson suggesting that this is motivated by race, but it's really just about preserving the record. And the judge said, okay, well, if he indicated that he splits his time in New Jersey and the Bronx during voir dire, this would be one completely different story. But he said during the voir dire process, during jury selection, that he lived in the Bronx. So he said it's not just an issue of the juror wanting to just be on the jury, but he also said that his bills go to New York, and it seemed like the juror was particularly just wanting to stay on this particular case. And so the judge was like, we don't need him to reconcile these inconsistencies. There shouldn't have been inconsistencies in the first place. And the defense was like, well, we compromise the integrity of the process if we make this jury less diverse. And they say that this issue everyone knew about, and this was Brian Steele at this point making this argument. But then both sides were kind of like, no, we did not know about this. This was just an issue that came up this week. Then what was interesting, Jesse, was there was this moment where we thought that we would get an answer to what was happening. The judge dismissed a lot of us from the courtroom. We were outside of that courtroom for about 20 to 25 minutes. We thought we were going to come come back, we've learned what would happen, and unfortunately, we do not know the full scope of what's going to be happening next.
Yeah, that's interesting. You don't always see that where the judge is pretty firm in a decision and basically makes the argument that the juror was saying whatever they needed to say to stay on the jury, and yet kind of persuaded, it seems, a little bit by the defense's arguments. So now going to wait till next week to find out if this juror is going to be dismissed. That's why we have alternates. You would think that would be the biggest part of today. It wasn't. Kanye West shows up. Now, he is a friend. He is a supporter of Sean Combs, and he shows up in court today, or to court today, in dramatic fashion, but he doesn't quite.
Are you an American who's making $50,000?
Fair use reaction clip. Fair use reaction clip. Let's continue. Fair use. Please hit the subscribe button and turn on the notification. Continue to hit the like, you guys. Let's get the likes to 100. If you already hit the like, thank you. If you already subscribed, thank you. Let's continue.
No, he doesn't. Unfortunately, Kanye West, or Ye, as he's being called now, he did not get his way, so he was not inside the main courtroom, nor did I see him inside the main courtroom at any point today. So it's unclear, and hopefully they do not know this, but I don't believe the jury has any kind of notice that Kanye West was trying to get into the courtroom. He was able to get in the courthouse. From what I understand is he was sent to the media overflow.
Oh, I'm sorry, Paris. Are they allowed to communicate with one another during the court hearing? It seems like they kind of are communicating, which is interesting because remember, if you guys did not know, the juror slipped up and told somebody he's commuting from Jersey to the courthouse, and I guess allege the juror had been late a few times. That was a concern too. So they were like, kind of like, okay, you told somebody you're commuting from Jersey and you're not in New York. That may be the reason why you're delayed or you're late. That's another reason that's alleged, that's concerning. And then remember how they were saying from the beginning and towards recent, but just over the last 2 weeks or so, he was writing a lot of notes and then he stopped writing a lot of notes. It was kind of like, okay, we've heard it all, seen it all. A lot of this seems repetitive. So that their first concern was him just not seeming that interested in writing notes. He was always alert. Other people seemed to be sleepy, but or tired, but he was always writing notes. And then recently he stopped writing a lot of notes. And then allegedly they said that the juror was sometimes late. So they're generally talking to each other. So the whispers got out to allege either the attorney or the judge in regards to him not being in New York no more. And allegedly he was trying to say, oh, I'm supporting the baby mama, or oh, I'm still in New York and I'm living with this person. So there was a lot of back and forth in regards to him trying to remain on the jury, and they just said there's just too many inconsistencies, and they felt that the juror was allegedly lying. They felt he was lying. It's like to stay on the juror. So it's like if you're trying to so hard to stay on, how do we not know if we feel that you're not telling the truth? How do we know that we're going to get a fair response in regards to this trial? So he's been removed. Diddy's team has asked for a mistrial because Diddy's, how they stated it, it's like, I'm an African American man, he's an African American man, they should not be trying to get rid of him. And how do I not know that he won't go in my favor? Because they said he's possibly in his 30s, 40s. Maybe he could even be in his 50s, just looking young. You know how our skin look good. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, he's gone. And they have chosen a Caucasian. I'm trying to be politically correct. They've chosen a Caucasian to take his place. So he's already been removed. Because remember on Friday, you guys, they stated that the judge is going to make a decision on Sunday whether that juror should come back on Monday. But he had already made a decision to remove over the weekend, and somebody else is taken in their place. Yeah. A lot's going on, and you would think that they would make that clear to them. You must remain in New York. If anything changes, you have to let us know. That should have been something that was very clear. And see, he's probably loving the chaos. Because you got to remember, last week was interesting. There was a lot of distractions last week. Delays on Wednesday, a lot of sidebars on Thursday, and the alleged Kanye West on Thursday, and then Kanye West showing his face on Friday. So there was a lot that happened. I told y'all there was going to be a bunch of distractions. Fair use reaction clip.
Room with Christian Combs, which is Diddy's son, as well as Charlucci, who's been at a lot of days of Diddy's trial, as well as even the pre-trial stuff, and he's a good close friend of Diddy as well. But as far as Kanye West being inside the main courtroom, that didn't happen. And from what I understand, he was only in the overflow room for about 20 minutes before kind of making his grand exit and leaving. But I'm sure he'll try to get back to the courthouse, possibly later on in this trial.
And I understand he was sitting next to Sean Combs' son, so yeah, he was there for a little bit and then left. Would have been interesting if he was actually in the main courtroom.
Yeah, some people are reporting 10 minutes, some people are reporting 20. He was there in an overflow room, alleged, and he left. And people were trying to find him. Reporters were actively trying to find Kanye. They were trying to get by Kanye, and luckily he had left. There was like alleged, an elevator full trying to go up to the alleged floor that Kanye was on, but he was already gone. Fair use reaction clip.
Okay, now I want to get into the substance of what happened today. And by the way, even before the government's first witness of the day was...
Please keep it nice and kind in the comments. YouTube will delete a lot of your comments. I haven't had to delete anything. That's been YouTube. So please be kind in the comments. Let's continue. Fair use reaction clip.
Oh, there was something major that happened. There was a series of text messages that were introduced into evidence, right? One was from...
Okay, so this is important. I just said to you guys about 5 minutes ago about the text messages. Let's listen in about the text messages.
Sean Combs to Christina Coram, KK, his former chief of staff. And another one was from Cassie to Combs' former security guard, D-Rock. These were introduced into evidence, right? Why were these so significant? What were these messages?
Yeah, so this was at a point where the jury was present, so they were able to see and hear about these text messages. And finally, the exhibit screen is back on for the gallery after Jane has completed her testimony. So we were finally able to see these exhibits as well. And so,
yeah, you guys, that's not me or Paris deleting comments. That is YouTube. So please be kind in the comments. Watch your thoughts. We're adults, but be kind in the comments. Be kind in the comments. And please don't forget to subscribe. We're trying to hit 38K. End of the year, we're trying to hit 1 million because we've gotten 1 million. Paris, we're already at 21. We were, the last time me and you talked 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, we're at 20. Now we're already at 21 million. So let's continue. Fair use reaction clip.
the first one was data that was collected from Christina Coram's cell phone. And so they showed messages from Christina Coram to Diddy on November 21st of 2023, where Diddy, and he had the name Puff Music in this particular message, said, make sure Robin isn't doing anything dumb and paying her rent on time. Now, if you think about that in context, November of 2023 was around the time that Diddy was already paying for Jane's rent at this point. And so I think these messages had to do with Jane and just the fact that Diddy was paying for her rent around this time.
So if I remember correctly, she had texted basically the rent was paid. And the reason that's
with this AI tool.
So were you guys surprised that he was paying Jane Doe's rent? Were you guys surprised that he was paying Jane Doe's rent? Let's continue. Fair use reaction clip.
Says, oh, him paying her rent. You know, him telling her she can't do OnlyFans. It's a way for him to control her financial well-being, finances, wealth. It's a way to exert coercion for sex trafficking purposes, right? That's what the prosecution has been trying to say, that force, fraud, coercion has been used.
Yes, 21 million. People are tuning in, so that's why I have to constantly say, please hit the like. People are flowing in and out constantly. Let's continue. Fair use reaction clip.
To induce her into these sex acts with male performers, commercial sex workers, that's sex trafficking. It happened in all these different locations. So the more they can show, oh, he's paying for her rent, you know, that's significant. Now, the defense's point of view, I guess, would be, she knew what she was getting into. She was getting the benefit of this relationship. He was paying for things for her.
That Saturday, I did that video, Paris, that has 60K in it for Saturday morning. I almost didn't go live. I was just going to let the videos pretty much talk. But yeah, Saturday was a big number for me, for sure. Fair use reaction clip.
So it's interesting to hear that, and obviously for Christina Coram, the more the prosecution can say assistants were a part of this, that's how you get to racketeering conspiracy. That's how you get to him using his inner circle, his staff, his assistants to facilitate crimes, to facilitate prostitution, to facilitate sex trafficking. It's all important for racketeering. Okay, sorry to interrupt. There was another message that came in, right? What was that about?
Yeah, so this message, this was actually kind of an interesting point. So it was from a cell phone that was seized from Damian Butler, and he was Damian Butler. He is none other than D-Rock himself, one of Diddy's longtime security guards, but also...
So much you want to say. What do you want to say? You're so funny. The page is doing well. The page is doing well. Yeah. So I appreciate everyone. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, the numbers are numbering. You know, we should definitely have 1 million subscribers if there's 21. You know what I'm saying? But that's why I got to get back to subscribe, everyone. Subscribe, because people are just basically tuning in. And I'm getting a lot of people sharing my info as well. So that's the other reason why I have to say thanks for tuning into Let's Talk About It Media 21. You're okay. You know, me and you have to kind of, you know, keep it hush hush of what we want to say. And sometimes we talk in code, but I get it. I get it. I get it. Fair use reaction clip. Let's continue. But yeah, congratulations to the page for hitting 21 million views. Let's continue. Fair use. And I see that with a lot of pages. I was on one other page and they have almost a few million over me and they don't have a lot of subscribers. So sometimes people just don't be subscribing. They just be tuning in. So I kind of get it. But that's why, since I'm a newer page that went from 3 or 4,000, now I'm at 38. I'm climbing, but I have to continuously say, please subscribe. Please turn on the notification. The likes help me as well because that lets everyone know we're live. But yeah, it's all good. Fair use reaction clip. Let's continue.
A close personal friend of Diddy too, and so it was interesting because we saw kind of the stipulations between both of the parties where this particular cell phone from Damian Butler was seized on September 22nd of 2024 at Newark Airport. However, these messages date back to January of 2017 when Diddy was still in a relationship with Cassie at this point. And so Cassie sent a text message to D-Rock that saying, my bathroom door is broken down, he has my keys, I'm leaving because I don't feel safe, I'm not effing with anyone else, I wasn't going to anyone's house, I was going home. Then we see D-Rock had messaged back, okay, someone was following you home, I don't think that's a good idea to leave your home. Then Cassie responds, he thinks I'm going somewhere else. The key has a blue fuzzy tail, take it. And D-Rock said, you know I can't take your keys from him. He also said a couple more things too, but I think what the prosecution was trying to introduce is just, again, another point where Diddy staffers were kind of doing things on his behalf in this instance where Cassie is kind of relaying that she wants the keys to her home back, and Damian Butler, aka D-Rock, doesn't want to take them away from his boss at this point, which we know to be Sean Combs.
Could we use your house to trial
So there's a lot of control in regards to Cassie trying to get her keys back, in regards to Jane Doe stating he allegedly pays her rent, and if she allegedly doesn't want to do the FOs, will he still pay her rent? He had paid it up for months, and then she kind of was like, I don't want to do this anymore, and he was like, okay, we're breaking up, and if you're not going to be a part of what I got going on, then just leave me alone. So he loves to control people, period. That's what's being alleged. Fair use reaction clip.
And again, goes to her alleged force, fraud, coercion. Remember, she makes up one of the individual sex trafficking counts. So look at the environment she's in. Look at her, big question is, could she have walked away? Could she have escaped? Could she have fought back? Look at the environment she's in. I think this is an important message, ultimately, for the jury to consider. Now, we get into the testimony of a special agent from Homeland Security, who my understanding was part of the raid at Combs' LA mansion last year. Remember, his properties in LA and Miami were raided by federal agents. And they found a lot at this house, right? Elizabeth, what did they find?
And honestly, Jesse, I'm not going to lie, I love a good evidence day. But then there were points during this where I was kind of like, okay, well, what are we really getting to? What is kind of the point? But I'll kind of explain it. So yes, Andre Lamont was one of the Homeland Security, and he works for Homeland Security Investigations, and he is a special agent. So he's assigned to the Human Trafficking Group, and specifically in the Los Angeles office. So on March 25th of 2024, what did he do? Well, he was none other than at Diddy's LA mansion, that one in Mapleton, that a lot of the jury has been hearing about ad nauseum at this point. And so what was interesting is that they said, Andre Lamont had testified that Homeland Security Investigations here in New York asked for assistance for the search in LA. And so Andre Lamont's role was kind of seizing and processing the evidence for the office here in New York. And so right off the bat, we're seeing a number of exhibit photos. So we see Diddy's home in Los Angeles. We see kind of a point from the front of the home as well as a point from the back of the home. And it's a beautiful, gorgeous property, but it's also because there's 3 different buildings alone just on this property. You have the main home, you have the sauna, which, I mean, hello, he's rich. Of course he would have a sauna-like building. And then he has a gym and a studio because obviously he is, this mega hit maker, and he has a studio and a gym, and he has a lot of money too. So of course he would have 3 buildings, and they would all just be humongous. And so we got to see more of just some of the items that were found specifically in the Los Angeles homes, because previously we saw what was found in the Miami home. So now we got a kind of a peek into what was found in the Los Angeles home. So at first we see an exhibit where it's like this detailed layout of the property. The basement isn't shown in this particular kind of layout. We see the first floor of the home, the security room.
Did y'all catch that, T? The basement. The basement. The basement.
garage. The second floor had the master bedroom, the closet. And so inside the master bedroom, because we saw, I don't think that's a good idea.
Look at the environment she's.
Hold on.
Andre Lamond's role was kind of seizing and processing the evidence for the office here in New York. And so right off the bat, we're seeing a number of exhibit photos. So we see Diddy's home in Los Angeles. We see kind of a point from the front of the home as well as a point from the back of the home. And it's a beautiful, gorgeous property, but it's also humongous because there's 3 different buildings alone just on this property. You have the main home, you have the sauna, which, I mean, hello, he's rich. Of course he would have a sauna-like building. And then he has a gym and a studio because obviously he is, you know, this mega hit maker, and he has a studio and a gym, and he has a lot of money too. So of course he would have 3 buildings, and they would all just be humongous. And so we got to see more of just some of the items that were found specifically in the Los Angeles homes, because previously we saw what was found in the Miami home. So now we got a kind of a peek into what was found in the Los Angeles home. So at first we see an exhibit where it's like this detailed layout of the property. The basement isn't shown in this particular kind of layout.
The basement is not shown in this particular layout. Why are they not showing the basement, y'all? Another page had questioned that, and I now get it. Why would they not cover the basement? And don't these cops or the feds or with the raid, don't they have video cameras showing them going into the home? Why are we not seeing video cameras showing that? Because the big question was, because maybe you guys don't know, they were asking about pictures before the raid, pictures during the raid, and pictures after the raid. So they were basically stating the guy that took the stand, whether it was Thursday or Friday, they were concerned about the man that took the stand in regards to how he was answering questions about different things that he saw in the pictures before and after and pictures during. So let's continue. Fair use reaction clip.
See the first floor of the home, the security room, the garage. The second floor had the master bedroom, the closet. And so inside the master bedroom, because we saw an exhibit photo of it, it was kind of a white bed, messy nightstands in a way, and then 2 chairs kind of in front of the bed. And so the exhibit kind of showing...
They should be able to search it. So let's go back, Paris. Remember how they talked about alleged tunnels? So what would they do, allege, if there is a basement and if there is alleged tunnels? What is that going to do? That's going to connect you to allegedly somebody else's house. Why would you not cover what's in his entire home? And then this is the other thing. I'm kind of a little ticked in regards to some of the people we feel should be taking the stand, how this raid happened. They should be able to see in court them raiding the home. Let's get to what was in the home. I hope they talk about that. What was in the home? What did you find? What did you take? And allege. They have to give him a list of what they took. What they took. Let's get to what they found in the home. I hope they do at some point, because that guy should have covered. We took this, we took that, and we took all of this. And we found these voice recording. We found this messages. They want to talk about baby oil and lube. What? So, yeah, I caught that tea with another page. And I was like, oh, really? I'm going to pay attention to that. You know me. You know me. I'm catching stuff that a lot of people aren't talking about. Fair use reaction clip. And this is the other thing. Long time ago when the house got raided. Remember when the son had said y'all missed the house? How y'all not gonna raid all the homes? How you gonna miss a house? Allege. And I almost did a video on it. And I think I got redirected from family, and I don't think I could find the video. But his son had said allegedly y'all missed the home. Y'all missed the home, alleged, and then y'all didn't do the basement. What was in the basement? What did you find in the home? Okay, they talked about things being scratched off, but we want to know more of what you removed, and the tablets and the phones, and okay, fair use reaction clip. He said you don't want to know. We need to know everything. Let's continue. Fair use reaction clip. And what's going on with KK? Will she hit the stand? And where is the person that's allegedly MIA? You could just go MIA. And allege some of these people are getting a, what's the word? They're getting, where they need to testify, but then they won't put them in jail. You know the word I'm trying to think of. Some of them are getting immunity. Yes, a lot of them are getting immunity. So it's very interesting. So certain things I'm catching, noticing, and it's kind of concerning. So if they want to get the jury to understand everything, everything needs to be presented. And at some point, they're going to stop calling witnesses. Let's continue. Fair use reaction clip.
Side of the specific drawer in the nightstand was 6 manila envelopes with the letter K on it. Then we see kind of another stipulation. We find out what that K tested positive for, at least the powdery residue that was found inside the manila folder, and that tested positive for ketamine. But also inside that nightstand were just, other things that people have in their nightstands, like earrings, charger, cell phones, iPads, and Vaseline too. And so then we see an exhibit photo of the closet, which was, I guess, on the opposite wall of the master bedroom, where there was a specific safe in this closet. So inside that safe, we saw Diddy's passport, we saw money, a plastic bag with the substance that kind of looked like paprika in a way, but we learned that later tested positive for MDMA or Molly, and then we saw just kind of clothes sprawled out within this closet. Then we also saw none other than baby oil in a bag, Astroglide. We saw lingerie that was also found in the closet, and it was interesting because Andre Lamont testified that around this entire property, 600 bottles of baby oil were seized, but 900 bottles of Astroglide were seized because inside...
How much baby oil? How much Astroglide? Baby. Ooh wee. Let's continue. Fair use. Who need that much though? That's them packing bags as they travel. Let's continue. Fair use reaction clip.
Diddy's home, there were just kind of stacks and stacks and boxes, and all of it had Astroglide. And I think also what's notably interesting is that all of it was kind of organized in a way that was just very neat and organized, like stacked all together. All the tops were facing the same way. It was kind of that type of thing. But then one of the big things, and I think this was kind of maybe a sticking point of where the prosecution was going, was the security room and what was found inside the security room. And so inside it was firearms, because of course Diddy has a large security staff at this point, and it's a little bit different than the security staff he had kind of in the earlier years, because witnesses have testified that the security he had kind of in the later years, especially around the time that his homes were raided, were more professional, and that they did carry weapons. And so we saw exhibits of 2 chairs in the security room with firearms on these chairs. And so it was a bolt-action Ruger rifle, a Smith & Wesson rifle, which was like a semi-automatic AR-15, a Glock. We saw a Glock pistol and the rifle close up. There were 3 30-round magazines, a Glock magazine, 2 locks for the pistol holder, and then a 511 bag.
Like the video. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on your notification. We're almost at 38K. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on your notification. Let's get the likes to 100. Please double tap the screen. Please double tap the screen to hit the like. Thank you. If you already subscribed, thank you. If you already hit the like, thank you. Let's continue. Fair use reaction clip.
Is a bag that Andre Lamont said that was...
All right, this
fair use reaction clip. Yeah, so they're talking about what the man testified on Friday. That's what we're talking about. What he found in the home. So I'm glad they're getting to it.
59 rounds of bullets were found, and so then the witness, that being Special Agent Andre Lamont, showed the jury this kind of big giant rifle. And so only one of the firearms didn't have a serial number on it, and Andre Lamont testified that it might have been sanded off because it was kind of smooth to touch as far as where the serial number would originally be placed. And then finally we see an exhibit, and that was the safe in the security room. And so at the end, the direct examination ended with just, again, that photo, but that Andre Lamont testified that it appears to be a firearm safe. And then I thought, okay, maybe there's a little bit more, and then the direct ended, and then we got to cross. And so I think they were trying to really kind of point out that there was a large amount of weapons inside Diddy's home, but as the defense kind of pointed out, there might have been a reason why there were a large amount of weapons in that home, but for a specific reason, not to what the government is alleging.
So a lot of things to break down there. You would wonder, it's a lot of firepower. That is a lot of firepower. And if you go back to his indictment, under methods and means of the racketeering conspiracy, it's one of the sections. And remember, we're talking about a criminal enterprise. I'm going to read you what it says because I think it's important. Members and associates of the Combs enterprise, including Combs security personnel, at times carried firearms. On more than one occasion, Combs himself carried or brandished firearms to intimidate and threaten others, including victims and witnesses to his abuse. In or about March 2024, during searches of Combs' residences in Miami, Florida, and Los Angeles, California, law enforcement seized firearms and ammunition, including 3 AR-15s with defaced serial numbers, as well as a drum magazine. So they're basically trying to prove what they alleged in the indictment, but it goes more to this idea of him being a criminal leader, right? That's what they're trying to sell. Look at using these different instruments to facilitate a pattern of criminal conduct. And, you know, the baby oil, the things like that, those are products or alleged products of sex trafficking. So I think it's really important for the jury to understand what was ultimately at his home. Elizabeth, on cross-examination, where did they go? Because they can't argue away what was there, but didn't they provide a little bit more context about where it was found and what could be the value of it?
Well, initially, and I'll just kind of spill this to you, Jesse, and I'm pretty sure you already know about this, but before, originally the defense didn't want Andre Lamont to be testifying because he wasn't the one who had removed or moved the rifles from the security room to kind of lay them out. Somebody else did, and then there was kind of a whole argument about chain of custody, who did what, and how did these firearms get placed on the chairs when they belonged in the security room. And so that's what Mark Agnifilo really kind of spoke about during his cross-examination today. So he was asking questions like, you're aware that Mr. Combs has a security service? Andre Lamont responds, yes. They show that exhibit photo of the layout of the home, which shows the security office, and that the guns were recovered only from that specific place inside that home. And again, it's a massive property, but according to Mark Agnifilo, the guns were only in that security office. They weren't sprawled out everywhere across the home, because he was asking questions like, okay, you saw that there were bedrooms where children live, and those being Diddy's children, obviously. And then Andre Lamont is like, correct. Okay, well, there were no ammunition down in the bedrooms. Andre Lamont says, correct. Okay, well, was the security door open? Andre Lamont responds, yes. Well, was the door locked beforehand, that being the door to the security office? Andre Lamont responds, he doesn't know. Well, could you see if it had a lock? And Andre Lamont is...
See, and they're kind of mad that he took the stand to tell what was going on, and it should have been the person that actually did it. Fair use reaction clip.
Like, well, it had a doorknob. I didn't look at the lock. And then Mark Agnifilo was like, well, you didn't take pictures of the state of the door when law enforcement arrived. And Andre Lamont responded, he doesn't know if photos were taken before that they were arrived. And Mark Agnifilo was like, well, do you know, was the safe open before law enforcement got there? Andre Lamont says, I don't know. Do you know how the safe got open? No. This was specifically a gun safe. Yes. And so we see the gun safe exhibit again. And then this photo doesn't specify how.
So that's good. They're giving us a breakdown of what happened in regards to them raiding the home. Fair use reaction clip. All comments are alleged in our opinion. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe, you guys. Please subscribe and thank you. Let's continue. Fair use reaction clip. Like I said, he's innocent till proven guilty. They're talking about what happened in regards to the raid. Let's continue. Fair use.
How this safe was open, whether it was manipulated to be open, or I guess maybe whether it just opened on its own. And so Mark Agnifilo was like, okay, well, what do you do as a lead agent on a search? And so Andre Lamont responds, he looks for items to be seized. He advises the search teams. He advises HSI New York. Mark Agnifilo was like, okay, well, as lead, wouldn't you want to know where the weapons were found? Because that was kind of a big thing. And Andre Lamont is kind of like, yes and no, as far as just their standard operating procedure, because for the most part, another team comes in, and what they do is kind of secure the location, get all the people out of the home, because if you guys have been following this case from when the raids happened, and then, you know, when the surveillance video was released a little bit after, guns were drawn, people were kind of pulled out of the home with weapons, they were handcuffed, there were photos circulating of Diddy's sons being handcuffed and being placed on the grass outside of the property around this time frame. And so I think the defense was really trying to point out, okay, well, what happened once this home was cleared, and how was everything placed, in what manner, and that type of thing. And so Andre Lamont was asked, have you seen a photo of the safe before? And he says no. And then he's asked, did you have a meeting on how to conduct the search? Is this protocol photographing items before it's...
What do y'all talk about in the chat? Press 3 if you knew where you're watching from. Press 3 if you knew where you're watching from. Press 5 you've been here before, where you're watching from. Like the video. Are you guys surprised? Do they actually have video recording of them going into the home, leaving the home? And do they have pictures before, after, and during? That's the big question. Press 3 if you knew where you're watching from. Press 3 if you know where you're watching from. Press 5 you've been here before, where you're watching from. Hello, Texas. Let's continue. Fair use reaction clip.
Move to another place. Andre Lamont says yes, but then Andre Lamont says the SRT, which is the team that clears the home, they don't take photos of the items. Their job is solely just to clear the home, make sure it's safe, those types of things. And so
I would think that they would need to have that too, to protect themselves. So I'm surprised. Maybe they should be showing the raid to the jury, the actual raid, or different clips of the raid. But they're definitely showing pictures, so I get that. That may take a long time if they showed the actual video. So let's continue. Fair use reaction clip.
Mark Agnifilo was like, okay, well, you have no idea where the guns were they scattered in the security room, or were they in the safe? And then as far as Homeland Security investigations, they don't necessarily know. And then kind of towards the end of the cross-examination, he is asked, how many times have you found baby oil and Astroglide in your 60 searches? Because if he's under the human trafficking group, and then there's baby oil and Astroglide, he, being Andre Lamont, responded, okay, well, just once. And then towards the end of the cross-examination, I did see Diddy kind of give Mark Agnifilo a little thumbs up, kind of signaling that he was good on the questions that were asked. And I think there were kind of enough holes possibly poked.
I think there was a concern in regards to taking pictures before they started moving stuff. Taking pictures before they started moving stuff. But you got to remember too, there was his children at the home. So they were trying to remove the children from the home had them sitting on the grass. They what's the retain they didn't arrest them. They what's the word? They detained them on the grass. Remember we saw over the helicopter they were detained and moved to the side. I don't know if that was a distraction to them and maybe they didn't think that the sons were there. Who knows? I would imagine they had been maybe watching or viewing his home for a while, but Diddy was traveling with the daughters and the alleged mule. So let's continue. Fair use reaction clip.
During the cross-examination, and then that's kind of where they ended there.
Well, was he so happy that he was nodding to the jury? Because
fair use reaction clip. Let's continue. Like the video, like the video. There's about 219 in the building. If I could please get 200 people to please subscribe and thank you. And continue to hit the like, you guys. Just double tap the screen. Let's continue. Fair use.
didn't the prosecutor say, hey, my staff is seeing him nodding during that cross-examination? And we know last week the judge said, or was it the week before, the judge said, don't do that. Don't do that. I will, if I see you making any kind of motion towards the jury, I will give this jury a limiting instruction that you will not like, or I will kick Sean Combs out of the courtroom. Didn't that happen today too, or that was alleged?
Oh, no, that definitely happened today. But as far as kind of what happened, I think it was a little different from the really kind of harsh language that the judge was using beforehand. So this was brought up after Andre Lamont was off the stand, after the jury was dismissed for a little bit for a logistical issue. So the government stood up and they were like, okay, we were informed, and AUSA Maureen Comey is making this argument. She says that one of her colleagues had messaged her saying that she saw during the cross-examination of both Andre Lamont and Jane during her testimony too, that Mr. Combs was nodding during the cross-examination. And then Brian Steele, who sits normally to Diddy's left, stands up and is like, you know what, Judge, Mr. Combs has been nothing but professional. And, you know, I will say there were times where I did kind of see him nodding along. So the AUSA and the prosecution's office wasn't wrong here, but then the judge was kind of like, well, it's impossible to police every single reaction that the defendant is having because he is human, because, you know, he can't just sit there and watch his demeanor and mannerisms at every single point during the trial. There's a lot of stuff going to be happening. So he didn't give such a harsh, instruction like he did the other week, but I think if it becomes kind of more of an issue, then the judge will really kind of have to take this matter just a little bit more seriously.
So that witness leaves the stand, and then we get to the testimony of somebody we were waiting for, Jonathan Perez, Sean Combs, I would say former assistant. He was basically his assistant, I learned, right up until the point Sean Combs was arrested. This is a gentleman who was granted immunity to testify. What did we learn about how he started and what his job duties were?
Yeah, so how he started at the end of 2021 working for Diddy. So originally it was for Combs Enterprises. Now the company is called Combs Global, and he worked as an assistant. And I think what was an interesting point is the other witnesses have testified. They call Sean Combs Puff or Diddy or something like that, PD. But for Jonathan Perez, he calls him Mr. Combs or Mr. C, making it just a little bit formal. But as far as just in his entire employment with Sean Combs, it was from December of 2021 up until his arrest around the time frame of September of 2024. He was explaining that Christina Courtroom was actually the one to reach out to Jonathan because he had interviewed for this particular position years prior, but then he ended up coming back for the same role after KK had reached out to him. So he did a 1-week trial period, and then he took on the job. And so his responsibilities were kind of similar to other assistants' responsibilities. He was to do research. He had to bring Sean Combs wherever he needed to be. He worked close with the house manager. He worked at both homes, both in Los Angeles and Miami. And then he kind of led us into his salary, and he made a lot of money as an assistant to Diddy. He made $85,000 at the beginning of his employment, and then towards the end, he made he made six figures. He made $100,000 towards the end. And so as far as just what we learned and kind of the initial points of his testimony is that he also kind of helped set up what he calls King Nights. So as far as everyone is concerned, King Nights, hotel nights, nights of debauchery or debauchery nights, freak offs, they're all one and the same. They just go by just different names. But according to Jonathan, he knew them as King Nights. And so he says that he was aware of King Nights. He knew that it was Mr. Combs going to a hotel for private time with a female. He knew Jane was involved in King Nights with Diddy. Christina Courtroom would tell Jonathan about the King Nights. He would pack materials for 12 to 24 hours for Diddy to be away either at a hotel or over at another guest home, as he called it. And the guests were normally the women Diddy was kind of having this alone time with during these nights. But he would also provide materials such as liquor and music, lights, food, clothes, condoms, lubricants, honey, and then the lights too, such as the lights that were used to record, and they were specific red lights. And so the King Nights, for the most part, took place in a hotel around the time that Jonathan was kind of helping setting them up. And then sometimes as far as even who would book these hotels, because we heard a lot of testimony that either Jane would book hotels, but also he kind of let us into the travel agent would book hotels too, and that travel agent being Jessica Ruiz. And so again, they took place at hotels or at guest homes. Jonathan would set up king nights, according to him, around 5 different times during his employment.
Yes, definitely innocent till proven guilty in a court of law. A judge jury is going to have to decide if there's any wrongdoing on his side. Fair use reaction clip. Please subscribe. There's about 200 in the building. Thank you. 200 in the building. Please subscribe and thank you.
And he said that was because he normally worked during the day, and that's why he didn't set up more, as opposed to when these kind of hotel night king nights would happen, and that would be mainly at night. And so he recalled just that he would also go to the sex stores, and he would get items too, like adult outfits and shoes and high heels. We saw another exhibit photo of the boxes of Astroglide that he would either purchase on the company card or he would get cash from security. And then he also said that he would help clean up these king nights afterwards, where there were lots of sheets and towels and oils everywhere. He said anything that they brought that they would bring back with them. And then again, that he would kind of help as far as just the recovery, as far as bringing the people who would even do the IV drips at the end. And he said that these IV drips were specifically because the guests, as well as the guests and Mr. Combs, would need them to kind of be put to sleep afterwards. So it was kind of interesting as far as his role, because I think before the defense was trying to...
Do you know what eating cabbage...
Fair use reaction clip. Fair use reaction clip. Yeah, he was working with a lot of people, because they just said morning shift, evening shift. Some may have traveled, some may, you know, it sounds like you pretty much had to do everything he was doing. Fair use reaction clip.
What was really going on during these hotel nights, but according to Jonathan, or king nights too, but according to Jonathan, it seemed like I think a lot of people were in the know of what was happening in this private time.
And if the jury accepts these are episodes of sex trafficking, coerced sexual events, then it goes into racketeering. So you have his staff, you have others who are coordinating and trying to set this up. Sex trafficking, by the way, is one of the underlying crimes of racketeering. So it's really important to get into that. And also, by the way, prostitution, right? Transportation to engage in prostitution is a separate crime. And then also prostitution, I believe, is also one of the other underlying crimes. Now, I know there was a lot of conversation about Jonathan's and Christina Coram. Weren't there a series of audio recordings that were played?
Okay, about to get to the audio recordings, you guys. Let's continue. Fair use reaction clip. Like the video as you guys come in. Please double tap the screen. If you're watching from a phone, press 1. If you're watching from a phone, press 1. Let's get the likes to 100. If you already hit the like, thank you. Just double tap the screen. It lets everyone know we're live. Let's continue. Fair use reaction clip.
And what did we learn exactly about these? I mean, why were these sessions actually recorded, and what did you learn about the conversations between Christina Coram and Jonathan?
Yeah, well, I have to take a little bit of a step back just to give the full context of why this recording even happened in the first place, and that was that the staffers at Diddy's home saw a sexually explicit video of Jane with another man, but they also noticed that Diddy was in this particular recording too, because this video clip, or this sexually explicit video, was found on an iPad that was used mainly by the staff. And so the videographer, Brandon, showed this video to Jonathan, and Jonathan said that he ended up seeing a portion of this video, again, that being on the staff iPad. He saw that Diddy was in the background. He didn't see who the other man was in the video, that being the other man outside of Diddy, but he just knew that it was a black man, and that Jane was also seen in this video too. And so John told Diddy about the video, but he also told Christina Coram. However, he told Diddy first. And so he said Diddy's reaction to people kind of knowing about this particular video found on the staff iPad was that Diddy was surprised about this, but then there were no more conversations between Jonathan and Diddy about this sexually explicit video. However, Christina Coram told Jonathan, okay, in the future, you just bring this to me, and then I'll bring it to PD or Diddy or Sean Combs. And so Jonathan ended up speaking with Christina Coram 6 months later after revealing to them that he saw kind of a portion of the sexually explicit video, because Christina Coram wanted to reiterate or get Jonathan to reiterate his story, because she got a call about the video from someone outside of their organization. And so Jonathan didn't know he was being recorded around this time, and we did hear the audio recording. It was played in court. It was from January 30th of 2023, and the jury was able to follow along with transcriptions that were shown in front of their little exhibit screens. And so what we did learn about this audio recording is that Christina Coram says, I don't know how to bring this up. Bring that Bosu ball over here. You can sit on it so you're not standing. But she says it was brought to my attention last night, and tell me step by step what happened. And outside person brought this information up to me. Did you talk to anybody? And so Jonathan is saying, I didn't talk to anybody about the sexually explicit video. And Christina Coram is like, okay, well, were you inside the house when this was being discussed? And Jonathan is like, okay, well, Brandon was there, and he was saying that there was something on this iPad. Christina Coram is like, okay, well, who all was in the house? We can check the cameras inside the house. And then Jonathan is saying, okay, I was just trying to save him being Diddy, as far as telling him ahead of time that he saw this sexually explicit video, just so that way if Diddy wanted to delete this video, he could delete this video. And so Jonathan said that he didn't talk to anybody else about the sexually explicit video outside of the conversations that were had between everyone. And so he did say that Brendan wanted to tell Rob about it, but the advice was to just initially delete the video. But then Jonathan said, let's not delete this video in case something were to happen. It's kind of similar to what he had been testifying to even today. And so did he initially...
A lot of videos, a lot of messages. And then, unfortunately, it's being alleged that he threatened a lot of the women that he would release the videos. Because remember, he's off to the side, alleged. Let's continue. Fair use reaction clip. Yeah, I feel for the children. As you see, his son's walking into court. It's concerning of what's being alleged and what's being reported and what's being talked about on the stand, and alleged people getting immunity or pleading the fifth and taking the stand. It's a lot. It's a lot to hear what was going on. And then you have to realize the kids may have heard or been a part of or hearing different conversations. Oh, that's what that meant. Oh, that's what was going on. Oh, I remember him being gone a year ago for the weekend and gone for like 3 days. And remember, he's the main custodial parent. He's not married. He doesn't really allegedly have any women living with him. So while he's off doing alleged XYZ, the girls are at the house with the sons and the security and the chefs and the bodyguards. You know what I'm saying? Fair use reaction clip.
Wanted to launch an investigation into how this particular sexually explicit video got onto the iPad that is mainly used by the staff. But Jonathan believed that the video was recorded on the iPad. And then Christina Coram asked if Brandon might have told other people. John said Brandon was freaking out about it, kind of insinuating that he didn't tell other people because he was so nervous about it. And Christina Coram is like, okay, well, was anyone else there? Were the housekeepers there? Was the chef there? And one thing Jonathan did admit while on the stand is that he didn't relay to Christina Coram that Chef K was actually inside the theater when this was being talked about. He didn't tell Christina Coram this because he said he didn't want to make it this big thing. And so he said that no follow-up conversations were had with Christina Coram about the sexually explicit video that the staffer saw, but Fahim, who is Diddy's driver and security guard, brought it up to him, and then Jonathan said that he told the exact same story that he testified to, and even that was reported on by Christina Coram. He relayed that same information to Fahim too.
Yeah, their knowledge of whatever was going on with Jane.
Let's be real. Most people over 40 use ChatGPT like it's Google. Copy, paste, ask a basic question, move on. That's not how smart people use AI. Tomorrow, we're starting the 28-day AI challenge for beginners over 40. Just 15 minutes a day to level up. In 1 week, you'll feel unstoppable. In 2 weeks, you'll have your strategy. In a month, you'll wonder why you didn't start sooner. Tap the screen to join us.
What's your credit card debt balance? If it's $10,000 or more, here are 3 easy solutions you can start.
Fair use reaction clip. Fair use reaction clip.
Absolute game changer. Number 1, the first step to tackling your credit card debt is
fair
understanding
use.
how much debt
Hold on.
and how long it could follow you around.
Still not. Hold on.
How they manage that information is very important. Now, he also testified about drugs and money. So if we're talking about a criminal enterprise and we're talking about sex trafficking, by the way, prosecutors allege that Combs used drugs to keep victims compliant, but drug trafficking is also one of the underlying crimes of this alleged racketeering criminal enterprise. What did he say? What did he testify to about drugs and money?
Yeah, well, he testified a lot to both drugs and money. And so we saw an exhibit photo because, again, have to emphasize that we're finally able to see these exhibit photos once again. And that was of Diddy's Gucci pouch, which carried both drugs and carried money. And so as far as the drugs that would normally be inside this particular pouch, it included things like Adderall. And
the substances in itself is a concern. And having men sleep with your girl is a concern. So what's being alleged is concerning. Real talk. Fair use reaction clip.
Ketamine, Molly, and cocaine, and said that he was the one, he being Jonathan, had to make sure that Diddy's Gucci pouch was inside Diddy's backpack for these theme nights or hotel nights, essentially these freak-offs. And so then we see text exhibits from Jonathan and Rob, who is another staffer, from July 31st of 2022, where Rob is saying, yo, will you locate his Gucci pouch and his backpack? Jonathan responds, yes, I zipped it up, no residue, and I didn't steal one Addy. And that Addy is an address, it's Adderall. And then we see another text message from October 10th of 2022, where Jonathan is saying, hi, I just found items in the Balenciaga pouch that should be in the Gucci pouch. And then Joey, who's also another staffer, responds with this confused face emoji. And then Jonathan is talking about how he means cocaine as far as the residue is concerned. And then Joey says,
the substance in itself is so concerning. So concerning. Fair use reaction clip.
Okay, well, he probably needs it at PT, that being physical therapy, and I think it was just a joke between Joey and Jonathan. And so, as far as just other drugs that Jonathan purchased on behalf of Diddy, he said that Diddy or even other assistants would ask Jonathan to purchase or grab drugs for Sean Combs, such as Xanax that he bought, cocaine that he bought, and then Molly that he also purchased for Diddy. And he said that he would get them from presumably drug dealers that were named Baby Girl and another one named Guido, who Jane had even recalled when she was testifying.
And will they bring in those mules? Will the mules have to take the stand? And think about this, you guys. Hold up. Real talk. Catch this tea. If they're using all these substances and allege it's a different name, who are the doctors that's writing these prescriptions for their teams to get these substances? Who are those doctors? Because remember, he's using allegedly a different name, right? Who are the doctors that's writing the prescription for these people to get these substances? Let's continue fair use. And we understand some of this is street stuff too, but some of this is prescribed stuff. So will the mules take the stand? Will the doctors take the stand? Yeah, some of them are subscribed, and the employees are taking turns, employees are taking turns going to get the scripts. That's what's alleged in court. Fair use reaction clip.
And so, as far as where he got the cash from, he said he normally got it from Diddy Security. So then we see text messages between Jonathan and Fahim. Again, Fahim is one of Diddy security guards from February 15th of 2024. So just last year, where Jonathan says, "Hi, Fod, just had Dontre pull out $1,200. $700 went to Guido. I'm about to go to the store and buy food with the remaining $500. Then we see receipts that were sent to Fahim, I guess, for reimbursement of this money, or just to prove that he actually purchased what he said he was going to be purchasing with that money that was given to him. And then Jonathan, in another text message to Fahim, says, "Hi, can you pull $2,100 for a guy coming tonight, plus a little more than $1,500 in cash?" And so then we just kind of see more text exhibits too, just as far as him procuring cash that even involved kind of hotel night. So then we see text messages from Jonathan to Fahim, and he's kind of in a group chat where he's saying, he's asking you to bring cash. Is it at the house? Let me know. And then Fahim responds, "Robin never gave us the cash." And then Jonathan said, "Hi, Bob, putting PD on this text with us. Need $3,500 for gas." Fahim responds, "Copy." And then Jonathan says, "Can you leave it in an envelope?" And then he ended up testifying he doesn't know exactly what had happened to that money that was in the envelope. And so we saw kind of a great deal of text messages that show just kind of how the kind of chain of events would occur whenever Jonathan needed money to give to either Diddy for the purchased drugs, or it would either be given to them for hotel nights or king nights, or to the guests, because when he's talking about guests, he's talking about the women that were in these hotel nights / king nights over either in hotels or at places like Diddy's residence or Jane's home too.
By the way, what was this about that he had some sort of...
Yeah, he had calmed a lot of the hotel nights down after his home got raided. He was spending more quality time with Jane Doe, alleged. Fair use reaction clip.
FaceTime call with Sean Combs.
I'm obsessed with this gift
Fair
from my
use
hubby.
reaction clip. Yeah, alleged he was spending a lot more quality time with Jane Doe. He started acting a little different, and then alleged Jane felt away when Cassie won her lawsuit. Yes, she did. Fair use reaction clip.
Involving Jane and just the physical assault that she had testified to when she was testified.
And alleged he didn't put his hands on Jane like he did Cassie. She had some situationships, but he didn't put his hands on Jane like he did Cassie. And it might have been alleged, whoever Jane is, we don't know who is Jane. I don't know who is Mia. I don't know. I can't confirm or deny. I don't know the pictures. I haven't seen these people on the stand. But it's interesting how the FOs were similar, but allegedly the concerns were placing hands on. He treated Jane a little different than Cassie, but he was paying her rent. So he expected her to do what he wanted her to do because he was allegedly paying her rent and allegedly paying her lawyers. And he may be allegedly paying other people's lawyers as well. So him having that jet and being able to allegedly rent it out, he needs that money coming in because he's no longer doing alleged Ciroc. Let's continue. Fair use reaction clip.
So as you may recall, when Jane was testifying, she said that Jonathan was called during this particular night. And so Jonathan kind of gave his answer as to what his role was on that night, where he said that he brought Diddy over to Jane's house initially, and that a few hours later he got a FaceTime call from Diddy. And as far as Diddy's demeanor was, Diddy was angry and seemed annoyed on this particular FaceTime call. So then the prosecution was like, okay, well, did you...
Yeah, I think Jane had friends too. And you know how some people say certain people, they treat you with respect because who your circle is. Other people, maybe he felt a way about Cassie. Maybe because, I don't know. In regards to Cassie family requesting money from the mom, or the video will be released and then giving the money back allegedly to Cassie's mom, and they trace that, but then trying to keep Cassie away from good friends. And then allegedly the friend got injured too. And the friend sued Diddy. And then Cassie was like, dang, you seeking a lot, aren't you? Yeah, yo, dude hit me. Where they do that at? Yeah, definitely. What is wrong with having some self-respect? And this is the biggest thing. The women who he alleged dated, they had concerns. The employees had concerns. There was concerns all around. This is not a normal situation. What's being alleged is concerning. And people will play in your face and seem like, okay, the judge is acting a certain way. All right, be fair, judge. What? What? And then some men are cool with just because this may be their lifestyle. So we got to understand that's why certain people are saying what they're saying in the comments. Fair use reaction clip.
Jane, did you see her face? What was kind of her reaction to what was going on? And Jonathan said that Jane was turned away from the camera. And so Diddy had...
Yeah, some employees have testified. The people from the FOs testified. I think 2 people testified before Cassie, then Cassie, and then allegedly there's been a few employees. Yeah, there's been a few. Some of the employees talked about how they set the rooms up. Right now, she's talking about how some of the employees was asking for money for the FOs and money for gas and money for the hotels. So right now, they're talking about employees. Yeah. There was an employee, remember the employee that got in trouble because Diddy thought he leaked information about what happened between him and Cassie, and then allegedly he was on the employee's history. Remember that? So yeah, employees have testified and alleged a lot of the employees were threatened about their jobs. And remember the employee that was up 5 days, girl, remember that? And then when she started acting cuckoo for Cocoa Puff, they said, okay, get her away from me, have her go to sleep. You should have let her sleep. What? She can now sleep now that she's acting erratic? My goodness. And then she felt that this is, she saw how he likes to stay up, and she felt this is a part of, and what she had to take, alleged, to stay up for those 4 to 5 days. That in itself is concerning. Yeah, the ones that help with the parties, yeah. And communicating with him, the team, and communicating with KK. Fair use reaction clip. I could go into more in regards to... There was a video done. I'm going to probably get into that. I may play some clips. They talked about how towels were laid down at the hotels because so much oil. Fair use reaction clip.
FaceTime Jonathan to confirm whether or not another woman was on this trip. Because if you remember from Jane's testimony, kind of the start of their argument was whether or not another woman that Jane was kind of jealous of was on this family trip with Diddy just days prior to him coming over to her house. And so Jonathan said that it seemed like Diddy and Jane were arguing, and that Jonathan told Diddy that there wasn't another woman on the trip. And so he also said that then the FaceTime call ended, but then Jonathan told Christina Courtroom and Fahim that Diddy and the guests were arguing. And so we saw text exhibits from June 18th of 2024 when this incident happened, where Christina Courtroom was saying, heads up, PD going to guest house tonight. And then that following, kind of early in those morning hours on June 19th, Jonathan says, me and PD en route to location, heads up, him and guests are fighting, I'm about to go pick him up. Just the normal, her being jealous of other women and yelling at him. And so that's where another message from Jonathan, where he says, just heard from him being PD or Diddy. He said he's not going to, he said not to come at all, everything's all good. And then later we see a message where Christina Courtroom is saying, hi, can someone go pick up PD ASAP? Jonathan liked that message, and then later brought Diddy back home.
Why did he stop working for Sean Combs? Was it because Combs got arrested?
So why do certain people start working for Sean Combs? And then you have to remember some of the employees filed a lawsuit as well. Fair use reaction clip. And Cassie's friend filed a lawsuit as well. Fair use reaction clip.
No, surprisingly, he had very nice things to say about Sean Combs while he was on the witness stand, but he did say the arrest kind of sort of played a little bit of a role as far as why he left, because a lot of things were just up in the air around this time period. And so he said that he wanted to avoid a situation like this, and I think he meant the criminal trial and possibly him having to testify, which is something that he ended up doing. But in the final question that the prosecution asked Jonathan Perez was like, so what are your feelings currently about Diddy? And he says, well, I feel great about him even to this day, even as he's sitting as a defendant on his trial. And at first I was kind of like, why is the prosecution asking a question they may not like the answer to and that type of thing? But then I also kind of thought about it this way. Maybe they want to kind of convey to the jury that even though this is a witness that is a government witness, that they're not trying to sway his answers in any type of way, especially because he had already gotten an immunity order. And so I think it kind of goes both ways as far as maybe why the government asked that particular question. But as far as Jonathan is concerned, like a lot of other witnesses are concerned, that he had nothing but great things to say about Sean Combs even to this day.
It arguably makes him more credible, right? It doesn't look like he's got...
We're Phoenix
Fair
Energy.
use reaction clip. Like the video. Please don't forget to subscribe, you guys. We're trying to hit 38K by today, tomorrow. We're trying to hit 38K by today, tomorrow. Please also hit the like button. If you're watching from a phone or a tablet, please double tap the screen. Let's continue. Fair use reaction clip.
He's got a crusade against Sean Combs. They're using his testimony, not to, be combative, they're using his testimony to help fill in the pieces of sex trafficking and prostitution and racketeering in different ways. Having said that, he also was subject to cross-examination by the defense. So what happened when they had a turn to question him?
Well, I will say you can kind of tell when the defense team likes a particular witness because they're not very aggressive, I will say, in their cross-examination. And it probably helped that Jonathan said that he has nothing but great feelings about Diddy even to this day. And so the cross-exam was conducted by Brian Steele. And so with Brian Steele, I was kind of like, okay, is he going to get aggressive? But he was pretty just kind of above board with this, as he normally is, right? But he wasn't aggressive like he was kind of with Mia while she was testifying. But as far as just the cross-examination is concerned, they really kind of brought it back to the last thing he said under direct examination or direct testimony, where Jonathan said that he still respects Mr. Combs even to this day, that Diddy had motivated him and inspired him. And then they kind of go back to October 26th of 2023 because the defense was saying that was a particular day where Jonathan saw that Diddy was upset, he was crying, something had happened on that day. But Jonathan was saying he doesn't necessarily remember, but he said he got his memory refreshed after a bunch of text messages were shown to him, but just that he remembered Diddy just being upset around this time frame. Then they kind of get into the search that happened by HSI of Diddy's homes in Miami and Los Angeles, where the defense was pointing out that Jonathan had access to the bedroom and to the bathroom and to the closet. And then I think they were kind of trickling in Andre Lamont and what he had testified to just a little bit earlier before Jonathan Perez, as far as asking Jonathan questions like, did you see firearms in any places outside of the security room where that security had it? And so Jonathan said that he didn't see firearms in Diddy's bedroom and bathroom, places he had access to. He only saw firearms with security. And then Jonathan said that he worked for other celebrities too, who also had security too, and that there was just a lot of wealth in the house, kind of making the point that there's reasons that there was kind of a lot of weaponry on the property. And so the defense was also pointing out that even after these raids had happened, that Jonathan still continued to work for Diddy. And so then they kind of get into Jane a little bit, how Jane and Jonathan were nice to one another, and that the defense was kind of bringing in that Jane even wanted to go as far as marry Sean Combs too. And so as far as when they kind of talked about the King Nights, I think the defense was really kind of pointing out that this was his personal time. And that's something that the defense has really been also honing in on, is that these were consensual things between adults that happened privately and that were personal things and that they had nothing to do with his business. And so Jonathan says that he does also refer to these King Nights, hotel nights, as Diddy's personal time, and that it wasn't work related. And so as far as just whether or not that Jonathan was setting up these hotels and getting these drugs, and the defense is kind of like, okay, we know it's maybe not the best decision to be purchasing drugs or anything like that, but he says you weren't getting paid to set up these hotel nights and get these drugs. And Jonathan responded, yes, and you did it because you're a good person. And Jonathan is saying, well, I guess so. And then the defense says that Jonathan would even go as far as helping Jane get outfits, because that also was kind of a personal matter, and because him and Jane were very kind of nice and charming in a way to one another, that this was just kind of a personal thing. And that the defense was also pointing out that as far as cleaning up the hotels afterwards, it wasn't because they were doing it to kind of hide or conceal evidence or things that were non-consensual, any of that. It was because that they just didn't want to burden the hotel staffers and have more mess on the hotel staffers' hands. And so then...
But they knew they had to clean up those hotels because paparazzi would love to get copies or prints of what some of these celebrities were doing. So The hotels had to be cleaned up by his team. Like the video, fair use reaction clip. Okay, fair use reaction clip. Don't forget to subscribe, you guys, and double tap the screen to hit the like. Let's get the likes to 100. We're at 89. If you're watching from a phone, press 1. If you're watching from a phone, press 1. Please double tap the screen to hit the like. Let's continue. Fair use reaction clip.
Quorum and the audio recording and just the video, sexually explicit video of Jane on this iPad. The defense says that Christina Quorum was actually questioning Jonathan about this because this video was a personal matter and that it was on the staff iPad, and that, again, he didn't want to be kind of embarrassed that his staffers were seeing this personal, intimate video of him with him in the background of this video, and then Jane's in that video, that type of thing. And so the defense was really kind of like, okay, well, how much of your time on the job was really spent setting up these hotel nights or king nights? And then Jonathan said that these personal matters were just kind of 1% of his entire role as an assistant, whereas all the other stuff was 99% of the time. And that the defense is pointing out that, Diddy's not very proficient with technology, I think kind of also playing into what had happened just with the whole video recording found on the staff iPad. And that was a moment where Diddy kind of chuckled and he laughed at the defense table. And even as far as Diddy's kind of relationship, that being, the professional friendship relationship that he had with Christina Quorum, that Diddy and Christina Quorum were particularly close, that it wasn't a sexual relationship or anything like that. The two were pretty much like best friends, and that then the defense was asking about Jane and whether or not she's like a confident, strong woman, because when Jane was testifying, she was talking about how...
Why did he have to go to the hotel? He was trying to keep a lot of things away from his children, too. He didn't want these FO men to know where he lived. Yeah, he didn't want these people to know where he lived. And then some of the women allegedly was having FOs outside of him. That was mentioned, Jane. Yeah, she allegedly had a FO outside of him. And then, should I mention that? Someone did an amazing video in regards to a man that was at some of the freak-offs. And Cassie had said that Diddy was off to the side. Please like the video, you guys. We're almost at 38K. We're almost at 38K. Yeah, he kind of calmed down the FOs after he got raided. Let's continue. Fair use reaction clip.
She didn't leave after the incident that happened on June of 2024. And so then they really kind of ended their cross-examination really just talking about just the money. And it was really just the money as far as just mixing business money and personal money, and that referred to just the cash. And so Jonathan said he was...
Yeah, sometimes the employees would get in trouble because they were mixing the business money, personal money, and then he didn't want that trace. But then remember, he would allegedly threaten employees with certain things. So, that's the text exchange between Diddy, KK, and different people. We're almost at 38K. If I can get 137 people to subscribe, we'll hit 38K. If I can get all 135 people to subscribe, we'll hit 38K. Let's continue. Fair use reaction clip. We'll hit 38K by tomorrow for sure. Let's continue. Fair use reaction clip.
Sure if Diddy was mixing the business and personal money for cash for king nights, or if he was paying off the credit cards with the business money that he was using for just these personal matters. And so Jonathan said that other celebrity assistants also get personal items for their boss, and he said that it's not a cover-up for the hotel booking to be in his name, because the jury saw a specific exhibit where the hotel booking name was under Jonathan's name, and then Jonathan texted Diddy the room number, and they were saying, okay, well, is it possible that this hotel was put under your name, because if the staffers were to see it was booked under Sean Combs' name, then there might be, paparazzi or crazy fans, and it's just more for privacy reasons, and something similar to what a lot of celebrities have been reported to do too. And so,
are you drowning in payday
fair use reaction clip? Yeah, some of the names, some of the subscribed substances. So there's a lot of concerns here. I think in certain ways they're lining up the case, and some people felt that they've met the criteria of what they're trying to do. Some people say they haven't, because they really don't. They're not paying attention to different law pages. Let's continue. Fair use reaction clip.
How even Jane kind of helped coordinate these hotel nights, and that Jane and Jonathan would text about Jonathan getting Jane things like avocado toasts and just orange juice, and that Jonathan would also text Jane about picking up things that were like lingerie and just like kind of sexy outfits and that type of stuff. And so that was really kind of the basis of their cross-examination, to the point there were times, honestly, Jesse, at the end I was kind of like, why did the government call him as a witness? And then it kind of, because of just the way the cross-examination went at times. And so I'm interested to hear what your thoughts are just on it.
Look, it's another great gray area. It's the question was Sean Combs using his business resources, his staff, to facilitate and cover up crimes. If the jury accepts it, that goes to racketeering. If they don't, it doesn't. There needs to be that element there. There needs to be that common agreement. There needs to be this association of people. The idea that he wasn't technologically proficient, they're basically saying, hey, he wasn't intending to take these videos or use them as blackmail against purported victims. The idea that Jane is a...
Well, this is law crimes, but I literally listen to lawyers that's talking about the case, and they give a different perspective. So I kind of like that. I don't do the pages that's doing clickbait. I don't have time for that, because they're trying to pull you in with falsified information. I remember watching one video, and the law page explained the phone situation. There was another person that tried to explain the phone situation, and a lot of people were so confused. And I'm like, I'm confused. We're 7 minutes in. You can't even form a sentence. But see, everybody's different. So it is what it is. You listen to where you're going to learn from. So that's why my page, we go extremely fast. We talked about the juror. We're talking about the messages. We're talking about the employees. We're talking about his enterprise. They're going after him and his enterprise. Fair use reaction clip.
Strong, independent, a woman who was a willing participant in all of this. I mean, Jane in and of herself is kind of a witness you question whether it supports sex trafficking, because it's not the classic example of a sex trafficker and victim relationship, although she did testify in detail, particularly through her text messages, that she was reluctant and didn't want to engage in these hotel nights with men. Talked about how exhausted she was, sick she was. There was allegations of physical violence. And, it becomes a very difficult battle for the jury. What are they going to do when they ultimately have to deliberate? I've said it before, I'll say it again. I think this deliberation process is going to take quite some time to weigh the credibility of a Cassie and a Mia and a Jane and a Brianna Bungolan. It's tough. It's really, really tough. And there's this gray area about it. It's a unique prosecution. Having said it, the prosecution has put forward a lot of evidence that maybe checks boxes.
If he's found guilty, that's going to be interesting. If it's a hung jury, that's going to be interesting. However the juror decides, that's going to be interesting. And if there's jurors, after the case is done, heard, whatever happens, we can't confirm or deny he's innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. The judge, jury is going to have to decide if there's wrongdoing. If after the court case is done, will some of those jurors speak out to media, speak out to like a Good Morning America or different main media sources? That's the other thing. Some YouTubers are doing extremely well in the media space and getting better jobs. So I'm proud of some of the ones, hey, I'm proud of some of the ones that I've mentioned, because some of those people that are YouTubers are doing extremely well in bigger media spaces. I called it, y'all. I told y'all sometimes who to listen to at night, and they're doing big things. And I'm proud of those people because they break it down. They give us what's going on. They give their opinion and what they feel. And I'm so proud of some of the people that's doing extremely well. I'm so proud of some people that's doing extremely well. There were some announcements made over the weekend. Proud of them. Armand had a great show last night. It was with one of the people that did it, FO. So that was a big show last night. So I be telling y'all kind of who to kind of, listen to, but there's different law pages too. So I shout out and I kind of keep it general because I don't do YouTube beefs. I don't have time for that. I'm a busy woman and I bring y'all to TTT. So don't forget, there's about 145. If I can please get 145 people to subscribe, we will hit 38K today. If you already subscribed, thank you. If you already hit the like, thank you. Let's continue. Fair use. They're giving an update how they feel this is going to go.
Even for racketeering, particularly where for the racketeering charge, you have to prove a number of you have to prove at least 2 of the underlying crimes. So whether it is kidnapping or forced labor or bribery or arson or sex trafficking, it's a very, very voluminous case, and it's going to be up to both the prosecution and the defense to be very clear about what the role is for the jury and what the elements are. Now, after he leaves the stand, you would think that was the end of the day, but the judge and the prosecution and the defense had all of these administrative things to work through about who's going to testify next, what evidence is going to come in. Now, I didn't see anything to indicate that Christina Courtroom is going to take the stand. I haven't seen that. I haven't seen that. I'm still shocked that she wouldn't take the stand since she's come up so much in testimony. But she did come up a lot in this, after the jury was dismissed, she did come up a lot in this discussion between the judge and the attorneys, right? Did we get a sense of what evidence from her or regarding her is going to come in. I also understand Gina, alleged victim number 3, came up too. And Brendan Paul, the guy who got arrested last.
Struggling to pay off your debt.
So will Brendan Paul take the stand? Remember, Brendan Paul was the guy, his mule, when he was taking the trips with the family. Well, let's continue. Fair use reaction clip.
Back at the airport, this assistant of Sean Combs, these 3 people came up a lot, and we might have a sense of what the future of this prosecution is going to look like.
Yeah, and it's interesting because it was after this whole discussion about the jury or the juror, whether or not this particular juror is going to be dismissed. But it seems like from the government standpoint, they're ready to put on at least one of their summary witnesses on Monday. And so we're learning possibly what some of these summary exhibits might really contain. And so there were particular exhibits that the defense objected to about videos and images. And these were exhibits being screenshots from Christina Quorum. And so the defense was saying, we understand the probative value for the government, but taking these photos and screenshots out of the summary, it's kind of a 403. It's prejudicial, and that Christina Quorum took these screenshots was because she was directed to by her counsel, whereas the government saying there is high probative value when it comes to these particular screenshot messages, especially when it comes to Christina Quorum's knowledge, especially involving her Diddy's relationship with Jane. And so the government said that Christina Quorum continued to facilitate hotel nights even after 2023, because the defense was saying, okay, well, Jane facilitated, and she testified that she facilitated the next hotel nights at the Four Seasons, and when they would do hotel nights at Diddy's home, that it was kind of Jane doing this, whereas opposed to the government saying, okay, well, these hotel nights were facilitated by Christina Quorum also in June, because there was what had happened over at Jane's house on June 18th of 2024, where she was kind of instructing Jonathan to drop Diddy off, pick him up, that they knew that this was going to be a hotel night, and they considered that kind of to be helping to facilitate that particular matter. And so the judge ended up overruling the defense's objection. So the jury will see these screenshots taken from Christina Quorum. Now, as far as just Gina is concerned, I kind of wasn't fully clear on whether or not these were text messages or notes that were either taken from Gina or involving Gina or surrounding Gina. But Gina was brought up during this particular argument by the defense, where they were saying,
Gina's been brought up, KK's been brought up, and D-Rock has been brought up. Will Gina, KK, or D-Rock hit the stand? Fair use reaction clip.
The government abandoned the theory that Gina was a sex trafficking victim.
Throughout
this trial is that alleged victim number 3 was actually Gina, and she's been somebody that's been talked about in Jane's testimony, all the way going back to Cassie's testimony, sprinkled in with other witnesses here and there. I think even one assistant, that being George Kaplan, testified that he saw Diddy being physically violent with Gina during his time working with him. But as far as the defense is saying, that there was no evidence that Gina was a sex trafficking victim, and that this is a 404 issue, and that the government wants to use these messages, so we do know they are messages, as kind of 404 bad acts type of evidence. And so the government is saying, well, the defendant was aware that law enforcement might get involved during the Cassie fight at the Intercontinental Hotel, and that Gina ended up becoming kind of a big part of the case. And so the judge ended up siding with the defense in this matter about this evidence being inadmissible, and so the jury won't see this particular piece of evidence. But I don't believe, honestly, Jesse, it'll be the last time we hear about Gina before the
So is there so much chaos and concerns because this is a younger judge, not an older judge? We don't know, but I told y'all there's going to be a lot of distractions, concerns. Last week was something else. Would this week be something else? There's going to be more people that's going to hit the stand. There's going to be more people that's going to hit the stand. Like the video. Please subscribe. There's about 158 in the building. Please subscribe. We're almost at 38K. Let's continue. Fair use reaction clip. There's so many names that they're dropping in the transcripts, but some of those people are MIA and they haven't hit the stand yet. Let's continue, being Gina, D-Rock, and KK. Let's continue. Fair use reaction clip.
Prosecution rests their case. Now, as far as your last point, and I think this to me, at least is the biggest, is that we learned that Brendan Paul is going to be testifying next week. And I think that is I personally think it's.
So that means Brendan Paul should be testifying this week. Fair use reaction clip.
Possibly, okay, we'll really see kind of what all happened during Brendan Paul's time. Because to your point, Jesse, and this is something that we've covered even at Law and Crime, is Brendan Paul's arrest, because he allegedly was carrying drugs on behalf of Diddy or for Diddy, and he ended up being arrested around this time frame. And so it'll be interesting to see Brendan Paul take the stand and whether or not he possibly also got an immunity order in order to testify as a government witness in this case.
If anybody thought that this case was going to slow down, it certainly will not. We still have a lot more, and who knows what the defense is going to do and who they're going to call. But you know who's going to be there for every minute of it? Elizabeth Miller.
Yeah, so I would say that Law Crimes has been doing a great job covering the trial. I appreciate their updates. Okay, so let me get into hot topics, trending topics. Like I mentioned, Armand did a live last night, and it was in regards to one of the Armand did a live last night in regards to one of the people that did it, FO, allege. Let's see. Wordy talked about the juror being dismissed. There's already somebody in their place. They've already moved forward. A lot of people are talking about that today. Black male juror in the Diddy case has been dismissed due to the judge inconsistencies in regards to his response and where he lives. We kind of talked about that. Fair use reaction clip. We're just doing a lot of updates. If you did not see the video, Justin Bieber was kind of going off on the paparazzi. I guess he was at some kind of amusement park where he was out with his family. And he's like, I'm a dad. Stop playing with me. You know, I should be able to have quality time with the family without you guys harassing me. Yeah. So I did do a short regarding that. We've definitely seen a change in Justin over the last 2 years. Remember when he was tapped by the diddler and it looked like he was tapping him to see if he had if he was recording him? Like the video, like the video. Oh, that's cute. That's cute. I love that. I love that. Lorenz Tate and Nia Long reunite at the Remembering Love Jones premiere during the 2025 American Black Film Festival. That's so cute. Did you guys love Love Jones? That was kind of cute back in the day. Men kind of was like, all right, Lorenz Tate, all right, Nia's pretty. Yeah, that was kind of cool. Aw. Yeah, Father's Day was yesterday. So a lot of people posted about, you know, the Father's Day. So that's what I'm kind of seeing right now. But yeah, the trial is interesting. A lot's going on. Looks like Beyonce is she still touring? Yeah, so she's saying happy birthday to her daughter. Fair use reaction clip. We're just doing hot topics, trending topics right now. Let me go over here. And like I said, that's up to you guys if you want to check out that video from last night. I only listen to people that, you know, I can't just listen to myself. I gotta kind of say, okay, yep, I agree with that. Yep, I agree with that. And a lot of pages break it down. A lot of law pages break things down. I guess Kim said a happy birthday to North. Kim Kardashian wishes Northwest happy birthday, 12th birthday. She's 12, and Kim has her whole looking like she's a lot older than 12. So eyeballs on that. Concerns regarding that. Concerns in regards to the K's and J's, how the women are portrayed and how the men are portrayed. She should dress her daughter appropriate, and so should Beyonce. You know, yeah, she's 12 already. Yep, she's 12 already. Video of Bow Wow's daughter dancing, it looks like, with Jermaine Dupri's daughter. Let me see if there's anything else. I'm trying to remember the weekend, if there was anything that... The Justin Bieber thing, Justin, he does look a little stressed. He do. I guess he shared a few messages on his Instagram. And then he's basically, Justin Bieber saying, stop asking if I'm okay. He said he is a dad now. Stop playing with him. So wishing him well. And that's the biggest thing. Will other celebrities take the stand, hit the stand, or try to go to the courthouse? And like I said, Rick Ross, baby mama, called out a lot of celebrities. Yeah, Rick Ross, baby mama, called out a lot of the celebrities. Um, Jennifer Williams calling out Evelyn Lozada. If you did not know, Jennifer Williams got married to that light-skinned dude. There's a bunch of allegations in regards to that light-skinned dude. Can't confirm or deny, whatever. But Jennifer and Evelyn's been going back and forth. There was something else I wanted. I can't remember. Will Smith is hanging out with his family in regards to Father's Day. Nice picture. Kevin Hart showed nice pictures regarding his family. I think Diddy's family did like a nice video to Diddy, even though he's in jail. I think Diddy's family did a happy Father's Day to their dad. Usher showed pictures of him and his children. Like I said, I think Beyonce wished one of her daughters happy birthday. Uh, duh, 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 duh. What's his name? I got a picture of him. Oh, I can't think of his name. LeBron James took a picture with his kids, but that looks like an older picture. Some of these pictures are older. You could tell because some of the kids are a lot taller than what they're showing in the pictures. And that may be to protect their kids' innocence. You know, they get to school and it's like, oh, yeah, I saw the picture with you and your family. As the kids get older, they don't want to see that. Tina Knowles calls out people in regards to saying Tina Knowles blasts critics claiming Beyonce's Cowboy Carter tour isn't selling. I guess she's saying it's doing well. I know I ain't going to no concert, but congratulations to Beyonce for her concerts doing well. I'm not even gonna go there. There's a lot going on in media, y'all, and certain stuff. Since people are anonymous on the trial, there's certain things I can't talk about. But you guys can look it up on Instagram if you want. Tyrese showed pictures of himself and his children. And like I said, I'm wondering if the K's and the J's was going to be, if the children were going to be with their dads. Those women, I'm wondering if those women are giving their dads quality time with the kids. Is Kanye's fussing that he not getting quality time? Travis Scott, is he getting proper quality time with his kids? Is Tristan getting proper quality time with his kids? So, is that a controlled environment with the K's and the J's? I was wondering if they were going to, be shown with their kids. And if Kylie is dating Timothy, Timothy better wrap it up. Wrap that sucker up because she would love media attention, clicks, and views and have a kid by Timothy. Wrap it up. Okay, let me go over to Neighborhood Talk. We're just doing a rapid hot topics, trending topics. Like the video, we're almost at 38K. If you guys did not know, Porsha Williams did win the lawsuit against Simon and alleged Simon has to pay her $40K a month in alimony. I know Porsha was happy. I still don't like how she got the man. I do not. So she took somebody else's husband and her relationship ended in divorce and she got $40K. So like the video. Thanks for being here, everyone. I've been live for 2.5 hours, almost 2 hours and almost 15 minutes. I've been live for a long time. I didn't know I had the energy, but I'm glad I did. I hope you guys enjoyed the show. Brought y'all the TTT of what happened. Oh my goodness. Did I put the title? I don't think I did. I think I just went straight in. Man, yeah. Ooh. Like the video. Fair use reaction clip. Oh, Interesting. Okay. Yes, I thank everyone for being here. I thank everyone for tuning in. Copyright disclaimer. Under Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976, allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comments, news reporting, teaching, scholarships, and research. Fair use is use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. All comments are alleged, in our opinion, and for entertainment purposes only. I thank everyone for being here. Focus on healthy, safe relationships. Be around people that's loving, kind, and respectful. Yes, thank you, TT, my friend. It was really okay. Yeah, I appreciate you, Paris, always. So we updated you guys in regards to the juror. We updated you guys a little bit what was happening in the courtroom. They had talked about the juror. They had talked about KK. They were talking about messages, and we kind of updated you guys on what's going on in the courtroom too. So great show. I appreciate you all. Be blessed. Focus on healthy, safe relationships. Be around people that's loving, kind, and respectful. Goodbye.